I had a couple questions in the comments section today asking about Jameson Williams, saying, oh my God, should I go through and trade for Jameson now that he's going to be back next week? I was thinking y'all were stupid. I was going, oh my gosh, guys. Did you not hear? He was suspended 6 weeks, not 4. Well, Jameson Williams is going to be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. He is reinstated. Don't know how this happens. And if you thought the Lions offense looked good yesterday, no idea what this is going to look like when they have a vertical element. Now, we have a couple other injury updates that I want to get through real quick. So DK Metcalf did practice today. Metcalf's probably going to play. Hollywood Brown still is listed as questionable. Elijah Mitchell is questionable. Brandon Ayuk will be playing in week 4. However, going down a little bit further, Jimmy Garoppolo's been practicing. He hasn't officially cleared concussion protocol. Is still questionable for Sunday. Austin Ekeler is doubtful. We tweeted this out yesterday, and there was a Chargers beat reporter saying that Ekeler wasn't going to play. So I was like, okay, guess Eckler's not playing. And we have learned the hard way for 2 weeks now. Do not start. I repeat, do not start Joshua Kelley. Now, you know what's going to happen. After we have started him over the past 2 weeks, and after Joshua Kelley has made me lose matchups over the past 2 weeks, has made me lose subscribers over the past 2 weeks, what is going to happen is Joshua Kelley's naturally going to go down there and drop 25 points in week 4. Now, I'm going to fade him. I'm going to sit him. And if he goes off, it is what it is. But he's already on the waiver wire in the majority of my leagues. I sent that man straight to waivers. Deshaun Watson is dealing with a right shoulder contusion. Devonta Smith will be good to go. He was limited yesterday with an illness, or missed practice yesterday. He was dealing with an illness. He's fine. Saquon Barkley, a third straight limited practice. Keep in mind, he's playing on Monday. We don't really need to see Barkley fully worked up to speed just yet. Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr. are both listed as out, which is very interesting because now you are looking at a situation where you say, okay, well, no receivers in there for Baltimore but Zay Flowers. Maybe that means you just have to lock in Zay Flowers as a must-start wide receiver, but it's a horrible matchup going up against the Cleveland Browns. So it's harder to say that than you would initially think. Now, going over to Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks has been ruled out for week 4. So you do give up a slight bump to DeAndre Hopkins. With that being said, Hopkins still doesn't look great. Miles Sanders is optimistic to play week 4. They have not said if he will yet or not. Bryce Young, 100% good to go. However, Deshaun Watson is hopeful to play. Zay Jones will be out in week 4. That means you can start Christian Kirk. And I think that is all the updates that we had as of today. Obviously, the biggest two being that Jameson Williams is actually going to be back. And then on top of that, I mean, Austin Ekeler missing yet another week. But Ekeler has the week 5 bye, right? So, I mean, maybe make the argument, hey, just miss this week, come back at a 100% health the next one. But let's go ahead and let's dive into these questions. And as I pull these up, let me remind you, hit that like button if you have not done so already. And, oh, okay, this is funny. You can actually go through and on Underdog right now, you can take Joshua Kelley to not score a touchdown this week. Based on what I know about Joshua Kelley, he's probably not scoring that touchdown. So I'd go with the fewer than half a touchdown for Joshua Kelley on Underdog. And if you want to find any of those, you can find the link in the live chat, find in the description, find in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $500. Plus, you can get our rest of season updated rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, a Patrick Mahomes free pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Jets this Sunday. And lastly, if you have not hit that subscribe button yet, fix your life. Go down there and subscribe. But Chief Reefer coming out says, if Saquon is out, are we going to go Roschon, Hunt, or Matt Breida? If Saquon is out, I would go Matt Breida in this instance. And streaming tight end, are we going to go Freiermuth, Logan, or Gerald Everett? We are going to go Pat Freiermuth and cry when he does not do anything. I thought Freiermuth was going to be crushing with no Deontay Johnson, but clearly we were wrong. Jordan says, traded Adams White for Jacob Stevenson Collins. Did I give up too much? Rashad White to Ramondre Stevenson, slight upgrade. Devontae Adams to Josh Jacobs, massive downgrade. Yes, you did give up too much. I didn't like White and needed depth at running back. It's a 14-team triple flex. If it's a triple flex league, my man, wide receiver depth is going to be just as important as running back depth. I don't like the trade, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't like White coming into the season because I thought this was going to be a very bad offense. But ultimately, he's seeing literally every single snap, every single touch in this offense. Now, Calvin coming out says, bench 1, Gabe Davis, Connor, Ford, Alexander, Madison. If I had to bench one of these guys, I'd probably bench Gabe Davis. You're saying you're a Gabe Davis truther. It is a pretty nice game environment that he has going up against Miami. So if you really wanted to play him, I mean, between Ford, Connor, Madison, I would still play Connor with the guaranteed workload and look to bench either Ford or Madison. Ethan says, PPR start 2, Hopkins, Zay, Palmer, Pacheco. We're going to be going DeAndre Hopkins and Zay Flowers with everybody being banged up in their respective offenses. And then Zach Ertz or Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be taking Pat. Oh my God. We're going to go Pat Freiermuth in this instance. Zach Ertz going up against the 49ers. And the target volume fell considerably this past week. Now, Pack Fresh says 10-team full PPR double flex league. We have Hurts, Bijan, Ridley, Saquon, Keenan, Hawkinson, Addison, Dell. And then on the bench, we have Lawrence, Brees, Reed, Watson, Johnston, Deontay. What changes should we make to improve the team? Great content. Thank you so much, my man. Double flex format, depth's going to matter a little bit more. This isn't going to be something that we look to do right now, but if we get a big week coming from Trevor Lawrence this week, then at that point, I think it would be really nice to see what kind of value we could get for Trevor Lawrence in trade. The issue is when we have Hurts, obviously we're starting Hurts every single week, so I don't even want to roster a backup quarterback, let alone a backup quarterback that has a considerable amount of value. So I think the easy answer is to go through and sell Lawrence, but with how Lawrence has been playing as of late, it's very hard to know if you're actually going to have any buyers here. Now, Luke says, do you like this trade, Evans and Ayuk for Justin Jefferson? Oh, 100% give me Justin Jefferson, not even close. Colin says, thoughts on Lockett and Jake Ferguson for Anthony Richardson. If you needed a quarterback, go get Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, I mean, based off his rushing upside, looks like he could be a borderline top 5 quarterback in fantasy rest of season. Cameron says, what the hell are we doing with Gibbs in Dynasty? I'm honestly not worried about Jahmyr Gibbs in Dynasty. Obviously, from a redraft perspective, I mean, the David Montgomery volume is really concerning, but ultimately, still a 21-year-old running back, right? I mean, this is still someone you're drafting for the long term. A-Rob says, 12-team map PPR, trade DK for Calvin Ridley. I would rather have Calvin Ridley over DK Metcalf. Blue Line says, keep up the Lord's work. Do you think trading Olave, Brian Robinson for Debo and Jerome Ford's a good trade? Brian Robinson to Jerome Ford. Long-term, I don't exactly know how this is going to play out. Long-term, I don't know what the split's going to be in Cleveland. I think you can call that about a wash. But what I do know is once Brandon Ayuk is back in San Francisco, going from Olave to Debo Samuel is a massive downgrade. Please stick with Olave. Sergio says, any thoughts on Hill for Devontae Adams and TJ Hawkinson? Felt like the move down from Hill to Adams was worth Hawk. We had Ertz starting. It's a 12-team PPR format. I do want to be on record saying that there is a clear tier gap between Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams rest of season. But I love TJ Hawkinson. Loved him in drafts. Love him even more now. The volume is consistent. So I think I agree with you. I think that's completely fine. Colby says, Lawrence, Gibbs, Adams for Allen, Ramondre, and Amari. Lawrence to Allen, give me Allen. Gibbs to Ramondre, up to you. Adams to Amari, clear downgrade. If I'm going to break it down by best piece in each deal, Adams versus Josh Allen, downgrade. Gibbs versus Ramondre, up to you. Lawrence versus Amari, give me probably Amari. I expect that we get a small bounce back from Trevor Lawrence, so I'm going to stick with the best asset in Devontae Adams. King says, full BBR, Addison or Nico Collins. I'm going to go Jordan Addison, continuously expanding his role in the amount of routes that he's running in Minnesota. Mark says, trade Etienne and CD for Tyreek Hill in an 8-team shallow format where we have Saquon, Mostert, and James Cook. In the vast majority of leagues, I would say no way in hell, give me CD Lamb and Travis Etienne. Under the circumstance that it's an 8-team format where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I'd be completely fine if you wanted to do this. DB12 says, well was accepted. Pacheco and Ayuk for Cup, JT, hopefully at least 1 play soon. Hell yes, my man. Even if just 1 plays, like say Cooper Kupp comes back, but JT doesn't, I would still way rather have Cooper Kupp than Pacheco and Ayuk, or vice versa. JT plays, Kupp doesn't. I would still way rather have JT over Pacheco and Ayuk. The fact that you get both is nuts. Love to see it. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, AK says, 12-team full BBR, where we have Burrow, Love, Bijan, Kamara, Kyron, Javonte, Jefferson, Diggs, Ridley, Kupp, Hawkinson, Dell. We were offered Mahomes for Kamara and Jordan Love. Thanks. So thank you, my man. I think this is going to be a no-brainer for me. Give me Patrick Mahomes. Jordan Love is one of those waiver wire quarterbacks that you can kind of go either way with, right? Really just startable based off matchups. So I don't necessarily think that Jordan Love at this point of his career really has any trade value. However, I mean, if you're looking at Alvin Kamara versus Mahomes as the meat of the deal, I mean, in my mind, it's going to be easy for us to go ahead and for us to take Patrick Mahomes there. Now, Samir says trade Richardson, Devon Achane, and Calvin Ridley for Javonte, Gibbs, and Garrett Wilson, where we have Tua. It's a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So going from, say, Devon Achane to Jahmyr Gibbs, I go Gibbs, but I'm an idiot, and I would put that on record. Ridley to Wilson, clear downgrade. Anthony Richardson to Javonte, kind of up to you. If you have Tua, I like the idea of selling Anthony Richardson. I would assume that we could get a little bit more here. I would go Richardson and Achane for possibly Javonte Gibbs, but to get the downgrade going from Ridley to Garrett Wilson, you're giving up way too much. Anthony says, Ekeler out and JT on the PUP. Should we start Hunt, Roschon, or Zach Charbonnet at RB2? Also, Addison, JSN, Palmer, or Quentin Johnson at the flex. We're going to go Jordan Addison. That one's not going to be too close for me. Now, the other question is very difficult. I think we go Roschon Johnson going up against the defense that just let up 70 points and just let up approximately 1 million fantasy points to the Miami backfield. Maybe Roschon's not in the worst spot in the world. Ramu says, I was offered Chase, Kyron, Rashad White for Lamar Jackson, Bijan, and Brandon Ayuk. Bijan to Chase, lateral move up to you. Brandon Ayuk to Kyron, probably give me Kyron Williams. Lamar Jackson to Rashad White, probably give me Lamar. Where we have Cousins, Ramondre, Jefferson, Waddle, Dell, Sutton, Watson, Spears, Algier. Is this a good trade? What should we counter with? So if we have Kirk Cousins, I'm completely fine if you wanted to go through and sell Lamar Jackson. What I would do is I would be fine selling Lamar and Bijan Robinson for Jamar Chase, Kyron Williams, and Rashad White. But I think you're maybe just giving up a little bit too much value here, where I'd most likely look to keep Brandon Ayuk if we can, my friend. Now, Jorge coming out says 10-team at BBR, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Should we trade Mixon and Puka for Jamar Chase? The trade partner is my wife, so if Puka falls off, I won't hear the end of it. Now, this is a dynamic that I have not had to deal with before, my friend. I mean, I don't know how to navigate this. If you win, you lose. And if you lose, you lose. It seems like making a trade with your wife may not be the best way to go about this, my man. These are difficult waters. I think it's going to be up to you. I think it's a fair trade, but I don't know. That's a tough one, my man. Now, History Gaming says 12-team PPR. We have Burrow, Mostert, Kelley, Jefferson, Jamar, Laporta, Nico, Hollywood. What changes? Do we trade Burrow and Mostert? Trading Burrow is just not an option at this point. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to give you anything for Burrow. Everybody sees the injury. Everybody sees the little drop off in production that you've had. You're going to have to hold Joe Burrow at this point, especially if we have him with Jamar Chase. I don't really see too many trades you could make. I mean, if you wanted to sell Mostert, if you could sell Mostert in a piece like Hollywood Brown to get over to Travis Etienne, then we would before Jeff Wilson Jr. comes back. But I want to reiterate, Mostert's a player that you want to throw in the trade block, but he is not a must sell under any circumstance. Now, Sam says PBR trade Mostert and McLaurin for Calvin Ridley. We have Pollard, CMC, Javonte. If that doesn't work, would you trade Evans for Ridley straight up? I would rather trade Evans for Ridley straight up. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's get Calvin Ridley with the second deal. Because, I mean, trading Raheem Mostert ultimately at the end of the day is still a risky proposition unless it's a clear dub for you. As with Raheem Mostert, he's the #1 scoring player in fantasy at the moment. Dodd says Montgomery and Watson for Calvin Ridley. I think you want David Montgomery and Christian Watson at this point. If you're selling Montgomery, I think you get a higher premium. Cameron says I was offered DK for Jahmyr Gibbs. Should we take this? Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have DK or Jahmyr Gibbs? Would you rather have DK or Jahmyr Gibbs? Okay, we have Gibbs, DK, DK. Gibbs, DK. Everybody's going Metcalf here, my man. Just to give you, I like just asking the live chat once something changes. Fantasy football value overall, such as the David Montgomery game yesterday, just so we get an updated sense of where the overall market value is. But I'm going to scroll up and find where our questions are again. So as I do this, let me remind you, if you have not done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be getting a Patrick Mahomes special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard in Sunday's game against the Jets. And you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match up to $500 only with promo code FLOCK. But next question coming out from Calvin says, pick 2, we have Dell, Moss, Ford. We're going to be going with Moss and Ford. Starting Anthony Richardson, Pitts, too many Colts. I'm not worried about that at all. Please start Zach Moss. Like, just to give you a baseline expectation of what you may see here. Like, one of my favorite pick'ems this week on Underdog is Tank Dell for more than 3.5 receptions. But that's like the baseline level expectation right now that you have with Dell. If you're looking at Zach Moss is a running back that's getting every single touch, every single snap in his backfield. Lucas says, 12-team PPR, 1 flex, 1 and 2. We have Watson, Etienne, Pollard, Amari, Evans, Pitts, Madison, Hayden Hurst, Cup, Atwell, Hunt, Palmer, Stroud, Dowdle. Flex for the week 4, and any long-term trades. Long-term trades, I don't necessarily see with this team unless you could get some crazy price point on Mike Evans. Like if you would send Mike Evans and like Tutu Atwell and go get a player like Devonta Smith, go get a player like Chris Olave, we would do that in a heartbeat. But the starting lineup as is will be Etienne, Pollard at running back, Amari, Evans at wide receiver. And then for the flex spot, we are most likely going to go through and play Alexander Madison, my friend. Lake says, I asked the A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson trade earlier. He said no to Ayuk and wants Evans and Amon-Ra for Justin Jefferson. What are your thoughts? If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, yes, I would trade Mike Evans and Amon-Ra St. Brown for Jefferson. Danny says we have Cousins. We traded Herbert and Madison for Kupp somehow. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, my man. Beautiful, beautiful deal. I believe Kupp was back at practice. I think Kupp will be good to go. I mean, you have McVay coming out saying he may start slow and everything, but no, I'm excited about Kupp. Logan says 12-team at BBR double flex, 1 and 2. We have Fields, Saquon, Montgomery, A.J. Brown, Amari, Freiermuth, Addison, Tutu. On the bench, we have Purdy, Godwin, Brees, Pirine, Spears, Ferguson, Quentin Johnson, Jameson. What are your thoughts? And Justin Fields or Brock Purdy? In this matchup against Denver, I will go Justin Fields over Brock Purdy, my friend. I think that it's a strong team. The only thing I'd say is on a team that's 1 and 2, if we fall to 1 and 3, then at that point, some of this long-term upside like Quentin Johnson, Breece Hall, Jordan Addison, we may have to trade to get short-term production in this starting lineup. But I mean, it looks like we'll probably go to 2 and 2 starting David Montgomery without what he gave us on Thursday night. Carlos says full BBR, need 1 for the flex. Flowers, Nico, Devon Achane, and Joshua Kelley. My man, I am going to have to refrain from telling anybody to start Joshua Kelley. If someone comes out and asks me Kelley or Dowdle, I'll tell him Dowdle at this point. If it's Joshua Kelley or Josh Downs, I'm telling him Josh Downs at this point. Just because, I mean, I can't afford another week of going through and telling people to play Joshua Kelley, and then he gives us what he did over the past 2. If you're looking at Flowers versus Devon Achane, I think that this is an interesting question because of all the receivers that are out in Baltimore. I still probably go Devon Achane. Just shooting for the upside of what he gave us last week and what should be a very high-scoring game environment overall, but it is very close, very close. Johnny says, is there hope for Fields to redeem himself this season? From a real life perspective, no hope. If you're a Chicago Bears fan, I'm sorry to tell you, Justin Fields is bad, and I may or may not have been saying this for years. But from a fantasy football perspective, there is still some hope for him to redeem himself just based off of rushing production. Also, if Debo's out, do we start Nico, DJ Moore, or Ramondre at the flex? We will go ahead and we will take Ramondre Stevenson there, my friend. Now, Bacchus says 1 and 2 in an 8-team full BBR format where we have Allen, Henry, Saquon, A.J. Brown, Ridley, Andrews, Kamara. On the bench, we have Aaron Jones, Judy, MT, Laporta. Any trades to consider? If we have Andrews and Laporta, let's go through. Let's send Laporta and a running back like Alvin Kamara and see if we can get an elite level flex spot there, my friend. Chris says, honestly, feel like I've made the God squad. We drafted Laporta as Mr. Irrelevant after drafting Kelley in the first. And that's not even the best of it. Starting lineup as of right now, Geno, Etienne, Moss, AJ, Adams, Kelley, Watt. That is a nutso lineup. If you still have Sam Laporta down there on your bench, obviously Laporta is absolutely crushing it. Way better than I would have ever guessed he was going to do year one. I would go through and though, if you have Kelley on the team, send Sam Laporta and Geno Smith, see if we can get a quarterback upgrade. Corey says 12-team Superflex received this trade offer, giving Richardson and Montgomery for Jordan Love and Raheem Mostert. I would go Richardson and Montgomery. I think you are down. I am unsure if it's going to be a downgrade at running back. Probably it will be. Possibly it will be. But, oh no, I'm sorry. We're going to go on the Richardson side. Superflex format, definitely the Richardson side. What I was going to say is, love to Richardson. We know for damn sure in fantasy is an upgrade based off Richardson's rushing production. Andrew says 12-team BBR double flex. Burrow, Chase, Olave, Walker, White, Pitts, Waddle, Dotson, JT. Got offered CMC and Pickens for Chase and Walker. Chase to CMC, clear upgrade. Walker to Pickens, clear downgrade. Double flex format, Pickens can still be viable. It is a fair trade. I think it is up to you. I think I'd probably go with CMC. But I could easily see the Chase side winning things. Cheap Burp says, where do you rank Jameson? Is he worth picking up? 100% if Jameson Williams is on your waiver wire, you run to pick him up right now. Is it worth going out of your way and buying high on Jameson? Probably not. I think you have to rank Jameson as like a mid wide receiver 3 coming back in. I think Jameson Williams is one of those wide receivers with his speed that will really help the Detroit Lions offense, and he'll be a very good real life player. I just don't know if he's going to command a lot of volume to be a good fantasy player. Jaron says need 3 receivers in a flex. Have BBR format. We have Wilson, London, Pickens, JSN, Johnson, Charbonnet, Gainwell. Who do we start? Also appreciate you loving the streams. Thank you so much, my man. I think we're going to go Pickens with no Deontay Johnson. And then I think we are actually going to end up going Garrett Wilson and Drake London as well. I really do like the rookies in the long term. Quentin Johnson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think will be our long-term answers to this question. We need to see them actually be productive before we put them in the starting lineup, though. Now, KO coming out says 12-team full BBR where we have 3 QBs. Who should we trade and who would you keep rest of season? Love, Richardson, Fields, and should I sell James Conner and Keenan? They are ticking time bombs. If you mean in terms of injuries, it's very hard to predict injuries in fantasy football, my friend. I'm not going to tell anybody to go through and sell Keenan Allen. Right now, he looks like a top 5 wide receiver with an injured Austin Ekeler and with an injured Mike Williams. Now, on the other side of this, if you wanted to sell James Conner, I probably would. Reason being is he's on a team that's not playing for anything. It seems going to be very bad going forward. And out of these quarterbacks, I would keep Anthony Richardson, and I would see if you can trade Fields, but you probably can't. You hold him and see what happens this week and see if he blows up against a bad Denver Broncos defense. Will says 14-team full BBR league where we have Lawrence, Amon-Ra, Nico, Bijan, Etienne, Devon Achane, Kincaid, and Njoku. Taylor, Elijah Moore. Need to replace Mike Williams and upgrade tight end. Any trades? 14-team format, my man, this is going to be where we are a little more fine punting tight end and playing guys like Kincaid and David Njoku because wide receiver and running back depth is going to be a little bit harder to come. Like if you're in that 10-team format, I'm telling absolutely everybody, hey, go take your wide receiver 3, go send it with the tight end to get a tight end upgrade. However, if that's in a 10-team format where everybody can find wide receiver production. Here we have Nico Collins in the starting lineup. Our next best guy is Elijah Moore, right? So, I mean, we are in a position where we don't have the luxury of that wide receiver depth to go out of our way and upgrade tight end right now. So, honestly, I think we sit on our hands at the moment, evaluate what we get from Devon Achane this week, and then hopefully we have Jonathan Taylor coming back in week 5, and then we can reevaluate and see if we can afford to go out there and make an upgraded trade. But in reality, you're probably not going to be able to since it's a 14-team league. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 like away from hitting 200 likes on the stream. So if you have not hit that like button yet, go down there and hit that like button. Matt says 2-1, 1 quarterback dynasty league. We have Herbert, Richardson, Sanders, Kamara, Gibson, Latavius, Amon-Ra, Keenan, Higgins, JSN, Elijah, Myers, Palmer. Do I trade Herbert and Allen for Jacobs, Pittman, Purdy? Herbert to Purdy, big time downgrade. Keenan Allen to Michael Pittman. Dynasty, it's going to be up to you, obviously. You have the short-term production with Keenan, maybe a little more long-term production with Pittman. We need a running back. If this is a team that is in a position right now to go through and contend, then sure. Like if you're telling me we're 2-1 and we're looking to contend and we just need a better running back to do so, then send it. The last thing I want to do though is trade for a Josh Jacobs level player in Dynasty. Like one of these veteran backs if we're not looking to contend right this second. Now our next question coming out from Ryan says 12-team PPR. We have Allen, CMC, Jacobs, Higgins, Debo, Pitts. On the bench, we have Brees, Warren, Bourne, Williams. Should we trade Jacobs and T. Higgins for Devontae Adams? Why? Why not? So if this is a 1 flex format, I think that it is an intriguing trade for sure. Going down to the bench right now, we are sitting with Brees Hall, Jalen Warren. So we have some running back depth. We have the top end running back production with CMC as well. I think I would go ahead and make this move because we should be able to backfill off the waiver wire and solve that issue at depth where maybe in like a 14-team format, it would be a lot harder. David says, I am a home CMC, Swift, Amari, and Cup. Should I do Jacobs for Joe Mixon? I'm 3-0 in a 10-team league. Is the Flog Discord active? Trying to connect with the community. Yeah, I mean, we have like 20,000 people or whatever, maybe 15, 20,000. I have no idea how many people are in there. So I don't want to say all 15,000 are out there actively responding to questions and stuff. But if you go to like any of the general tabs, you'll see that, oh yeah, I mean, there are maybe 100 messages in the past hour, you know, so there are definitely people that you can connect in with there. I spend a lot of time in the gated channels behind the paywall. So like a lot of the time that I spend in the Discord is if someone signs up to flockfantasy.com, they use promo code FLOCK and they use the Mother Flocker tier. I break down their team with the podcast. So I go through, I have a roster submissions tab. I go through, I make a bunch of podcasts from people's teams. I don't hang out in the free sections as much, but you can definitely find other people who do. And if you're looking at Jacobs versus Mixon 3-0 league, maybe if you want to do this long-term, sure. There's no reason to do that this week though. I mean, you have Mixon in a very tough matchup against Tennessee. You have Jacobs in a good spot against LA. Probably want to go through and hold on to Jacobs for right now. And maybe reevaluate next week and get a little more. Zach says 12-team PPR 0-3. We have Lawrence, Ridley, Amon-Ra, Swift, Brian Robinson, Kittle, MT. On the bench, we have Wilson, Montgomery, Charbonnet, JSN, Dobbs, Cup. Don't want to start Brian Robinson or Zach Charbonnet. What do? We need a win. I agree that we do need a win here, my man. And if you wanted to go through and trade away Cooper Kupp on an 0-3 roster and get back a running back like, say, go Cooper Kupp and Brian Robinson. If you can go to a round 1 running back, that'd be great. Like, you go get Pollard for that somehow. We would make that trade in a heartbeat and make sure we don't fall to 0-4. In reality, while Brian Robinson is not going to be the worst, while Brian Robinson's going to have a very bad matchup, he's not going to be the worst player you could go out there and play, my man. Now, Skipping Loads come and says, 12-team PPR, we have Kirk, Adams, Thielen, Pollard, Dowdle, Hawkinson, Addison, Higgins, Downs, Debo, Dalvin, Zeke, Edwards. My running backs are tired. Should I be worried? So your running backs, you have Pollard, and that's it. Yeah. Honestly, I think you should be worried. If you have Pollard and really that's it at running back. We're rolling out, Dalvin, Zeke at RB2. So I would love to see if we can go through and trade like Debo and Dalvin or Debo and Zeke and go to a running back like Travis Etienne, especially with Ayuk coming back. Neil says thoughts on the JT situation. I talked about this last night. I have no idea what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. Ultimately, if you see how this plays out, I don't see how it makes sense for either party for Jonathan Taylor to not play this season. If Jonathan Taylor does not play this season, it's a loss for the Indianapolis Colts. It's a loss for Jonathan Taylor, and they are in the same exact situation next offseason. It's not like he's under the franchise tag. It's not like he would accrue. No. If he doesn't accrue a year, it could be ugly. So I am operating under the assumption that Jonathan Taylor will be playing this season. I don't exactly know what that will look like, though. Now, Curve Square Store says, down bad, 0-3 double flex, 10-team at PBR, where we have Hurts, Walker, Ford, Jefferson, Brown, Pitts, Debo, Dobbs, Zayd, JT. Trade Ford, Debo for Higgins and Mixon, then try JT for Kamara. What are your thoughts? So running back, we're starting Kenneth Walker and Jerome Ford right now. If we go Ford, Debo, for Higgins, Mixon, then we can get Mixon in over Ford immediately. And then at that point, we don't need to trade JT for Kamara. So I'm fine if you want to do that first deal. I think that first deal, you are getting a considerable amount of value as well. The second one, JT for Kamara, I would rather have JT. Benjamin says, got offered Bijan, Garrett Wilson for Kyron and James Cook. This is Bijan Robinson, not close. Even if you have to throw in Sam Laporte. I mean, Bijan Robinson, completely different tier than these other guys, my man. Nick says 10 TBBR, 3-player keeper. Gibbs for Javonte in a 5th. Gibbs to be a 3rd-round keeper. We have Cup in the 4th and Garrett in the 16th. So something I've talked about a lot, but if you play in keeper leagues, one thing that I've noticed, and trust me, I have an unbelievable amount of experience in keeper and dynasty. I've played in like 20 plus dynasty leagues year round since the year 2014. With that being said, if it's a 3-player keeper, the last thing that you ever need to focus in on, the last thing that you ever need to think about is next season. If it is a 3-player keeper, the only thing that matters is here and now. Would I rather have Gibbs or Javonte? I'd rather have Gibbs still. Full BBR, give me Gibbs. Jorge says, different league than the wife. 1 flex league, Kenneth Evans for Chase and Pacheco. We have Jefferson Waddle, so dreaming of Jefferson, Chase, plus the Kenneth Walker schedule is tough. If this is a league where we can be thinking long-term, I go ahead and make this deal. I do see Chase as a completely different asset than those first 2 players. In the short term, it may not look great though, just given the Burrow injury, but in the long term, obviously, Chase looks like someone that you can confidently say has the elite level ceiling. Jake says, got offered Bijan for Kyron and Andrews. Give me Bijan. Especially if we have Laporta on the bench. If accepted, the starting lineup is Saquon, Bijan, Diggs, Evans, Laporta. Great team, great trade. Go get the stud. Ryan says Williams plus Dobbins down. Who do I flex? Gallup or Kendrick Bourne? I probably go Gallup as a wide receiver who tied for the team lead last week with Dallas in targets, even though by no means do I want to say it's an easy call. It's like I'm not in love with Gallup by any means. Okay. Now, base coming out says 10 TBBR, double flex. We have Adams, Smith, Olave locked in, but have to fill the last spot with either Gabe Davis or Zay Flowers. Tough choice. I think that Gabe Davis will be in the much better game environment. Obviously, Zay Flowers is a very tough matchup, but because you have no Odell Beckham Jr., and at the same time, you have no Rashad Bateman, you probably go Zay Flowers over Gabe Davis. Author says in a happy BR between James Conner, DK, Thielen, which 2 are going to start? I'm going to go James Conner and DK Metcalf. I don't think the Panthers are going to have 60 passing attempts again this week. Impulse Studio says, I think Cam Akers can be fruitful down the road. Probably not. I think what's going to happen is I think Akers and Madison will split this backfield, and neither player will be super exciting in fantasy. Motley says 10-team BBR format. We have Fields, Stroud, Jacobs, Madison, Moss, Javonte, Ford, Devon Achane, Kupp, Diggs, Olave, Hawkinson. We got offered a trade of Mixon Anthony Richardson, Zay Flowers, and Nico Collins for Stephon Diggs. What are you thinking? 10-team format. Nico Collins literally has no impact. Would I rather have Mixon, Richardson, Flowers, or Stephon Diggs? If this is a 10-team league where we start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I'm going to go Diggs, because if you think through this, if you're going to be adding these 3 players, we have to cut 3 players as well. So we're not only giving up Diggs, but who are the 3 guys we're cutting? Ford, Stroud, and Fields? Ford, Stroud, and Devon Achane? It will make it where we can't make any waiver wire moves the rest of the season. I'm going to keep the best guy. I'm going to keep Diggs. That one guy coming out says 1 running back, 2 receivers, double flex. We already started Abonra. We have Henry, Ridley, Higgins, Kamara, Kyron. Starts it. We're going to be going with Kyron at running back. We're going to be going with Ridley at receiver. And we're going to be going Henry and Kamara at the flex spots, with it being a good matchup for Higgins, but a bad spot with the Burrow injury. Chief Burp says, would you drop Dell, Myers, or Watson for Jameson Williams? I would drop Tank Dell for Jameson Williams for damn sure. Or do you think I'm good with these players over Jameson? No, I think Jameson's for sure worth the rush spot if he's played next week. I think he has higher ceiling than Tank Dell. Lucas says Evans for Calvin Ridley where we have ETN. I'm going to go Calvin Ridley over Evans, my friend. Dr. Jatavius says 10-team PBR double flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Swift, Hawkinson, AJ Brown, Waddle, Puka, Madison, Pacheco, Najee. Do I move Puka with someone for an upgrade? Okay. I thought this was going to be a way bigger water thing. I should have filled up more waters. I would love to go through and do this. Now, the fundamental question is, like, what can we get? Last week, you were able to go through and you're able to sell Puka for guys like Chris Olave. Now you're really not going to be able to do that. If you could go still Puka and Pacheco for a player like Chris Olave, I do it. It's just harder. I mean, I don't see as many deals like that getting done this week compared to last week. Andrew says 10-team PBR single flex, starting Tua, Bijan, Swift, Tyreek, St. Brown, Pitts, Ridley. On the bench, we have Taylor, Addison, Richardson. Should we trade St. Brown for DeAndre Swift? St. Brown and DeAndre Swift for Tony Pollard. In this kind of league, I agree. I mean, we have so many interesting pieces on the bench. We probably want to make a 2-for-1 deal to get an upgrade in the starting lineup. I would say, however, I would probably prefer, instead of trading away like DeAndre Swift, sending our backup quarterback like Anthony Richardson. If you could send like St. Brown and Anthony Richardson and get Tony Pollard, I think that'd be a little more interesting when we have these stud QB here. Now, Bertrand coming out says 0-3, and we have Ekeler. I can't afford to wait 2 more weeks. I have Love, Devon Achane, Dalvin, Waddle, Keenan, Kittle, Dobbs, and Sutton. The move is you have to go through, you have to take Ekeler and send him for someone like Pollard to get production right now so we don't fall to 0-4. I would offer Ekeler for Pollard straight up, see what they say. Ekeler for Bijan Robinson straight up and see what they say. If those owners reject, then I'd be willing to go through and throw in someone like Cortland Sutton or throw in like Romeo Dobbs. Christopher coming out says 3-0 PBR. I've got Fields, Saquon, Gibbs, Lamb, Pittman, Pickens, Andrews, Ayuk, Tank, Stroud, Dotson, Achane, Elijah, Roshan, Charbonnet. I want JT, but I'm skeptical with this situation or any other RB. Obviously, it's going to depend on the price point. If you could go through and send like Gibbs and Jahan Dotson and go and get Jonathan Taylor in return, we're for sure doing it. With this being a full BBR format where we're 3-0, we don't even need to sell Gibbs though. I mean, obviously that would be a player that we'd prefer to hold on to. I just think that would be the easiest deal to make unless you wanted to go through. I mean, if we could somehow swindle ourselves, like send George Pickens and CJ Stroud or George Pickens and John Dotson or George Pickens and Devon Achane and go get a running back that we're really excited about there. Go get back like ETN, go get back like James Cook, go get back like Joe Mixon. Okay. Dime says, did you see what happened to Kelsey on Sleeper? No, I did not, to be honest with you. If it is a Taylor Swift thing, I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of it. But we are one like away from 300 likes. So I know what you don't want to hear, but we're going to say it anyway. If you have not done so already, hit that like button. Help us get to 300. And of course, if you have not done so, subscribe to the channel. We just hit 200,000 subs. And if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, find in the description, find in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $500 plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers and a Patrick Mahomes special pick'em. More than less than half a total yard going up against the Jets this Sunday. But Johnny says 10-team PPR, 3 receivers. We traded Gibbs, Sanders, London, and Michael Thomas for Bijan Robinson. 3 wide receiver league. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. Ultimately, 10-team format, not going to be stopping the deal for guys like London and Thomas. We have Bijan, Allen, Etienne. Oh, phenomenal team. No, it's too late for you to go through it. You can't make another 4-for-1 deal here, my man. Not in a league where you start 3 wide receivers. Great initial trade. You just can't do it again. I mean, this is like, you can only make a 4-for-1 deal in a week. I mean, right? We can't sell literally every single depth piece that we have. So we have 3 studs. But yeah, great trade. And with those open roster spots, just go back, fill off the waiver wire. Cheap Burp says, would you rank Montgomery over Jacobs, Walker, Etienne, Swift, or AJ? I'm assuming that's Aaron Jones, full BBR format. Give me Aaron Jones. Jacobs, Montgomery, kind of up to you. I'd probably take Jacobs. If you really wanted to rank Montgomery over someone here, it would be DeAndre Swift. But ultimately, I think that Montgomery falls in like the Swift range where it's up to your personal preference. I'm still going with guys like Etienne and Walker over Montgomery. Anthony says, traded away Lamb for Ridley and Evans. I probably would have rather had Lamb if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. If it's a multi-flex league, then I'm fine with the deal. Louis says, in a 12-team at BBR format, Madison and Wilson for Pacheco. I would rather have Alexander Madison over Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco's in a 3-man running back by committee on a team that doesn't run the ball, my man. I mean, I liked Isaiah Pacheco's price in best ball, but in your regular fantasy leagues, it's hard to get excited about him. It's Riggy says, Kyron for Ekeler. 100% give me Ekeler here, not even close. Ross says, would you trade Amari and Puka for A.J. Brown? My other receivers are Diggs, Dobb, London. It's a 16-team league. If it was a 10-team format, yes, I would. 16-team format, my friend, I probably keep the multiple starters just because waiver wire options are going to be significantly worse. Depth is going to be harder to come by overall. Dodd says Montgomery, A.J. Brown, Christian Watson for Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, and Rashad White. Montgomery, Kamara, up to you. A.J. Brown, Lamb, give me Lamb. Watson, Rashad White, give me Rashad White. I'm probably going to go Kamara, Lamb, Rashad White. If it's a full PPR format, if it's a non-PPR league, go with the Montgomery side. Straight up Debo for Madison. I would go Debo over Madison. I think Madison possibly splits with Akers. Cameron says 12-team at PPR. We have Hurts, Olave, Amari, Pollard, Devon Achane, Goddard, DK. Should we trade for an RB2? On the bench, we have Charbonnet, Spears, Jacoby, and Dowdle. I would love to trade for a better running back too, but fundamentally, my man, we don't have the value to do so. Like, the trade would be Jacoby Myers and Devon Achane for an upgraded running back. You don't have enough depth to make a deal. Asian Artifact says, sup, got Saquon, Ayuk for Kyron and Breece Hall. Love the deal. Love the deal. Hall versus Ayuk, kind of up to you and your team. I would way rather have Saquon over Kyron Williams. But let me go ahead and make you a moderator on the channel, my friend. I mean, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Worst case scenario, just gives you some street cred in the chat with the little gear next to your name. If you do see someone spamming the same question over and over and over and over again, though, you can feel free to tell them, hey, knock it out. And if they don't, you can hit put user in timeout and it'll mute them for 5 minutes. Just that they're clearly copying and pasting. Napunian says, got offered Sanders and Dell for Devon Achane. I think it is a very fair offer. It is a very fair offer, and it is up to you. Dr. Jatavia says, PBR Swift for Olave, Puka Pacheco for Kamara. I'd rather have Olave over Swift in a full PBR format. Puka and Pacheco for Alvin Kamara will be up to you in your roster, my friend. Jamie says, 12-team full PBR, where we have Ekeler, Kamara, Hill, Adams, Dell, Devon Achane. We got offered Bijan, Waddle, Dobbs, Spears for Adams, Kamara, and Achane. I'm going to try to say Achane. I spent all offseason saying Achane, so you got to cut me some slack. Adams to Bijan upgrade. Kamara to Waddle upgrade. Achane to Dobbs and Spears downgrade. But ultimately, I think we would make the deal for the combo of Bijan and Waddle. But keep in mind, I am the most biased person you could possibly ask about a Bijan Robinson trade. Johnny says also have Laporta too. Plus, all thanks to your vids. No, thank you so much, my man, for hanging out with us in the stream. Great team. Jay Will says, Happy BR, Montgomery, Lockett, Godwin for Kamara and Devonta Smith. Happy BR, Montgomery, Kamara, probably Montgomery and Happy BR. Lockett, Godwin versus Devonta Smith. Smith, easily for me, so fair deal. Up to you. Now, Cade says, 1 and 2 down bad, stingy league, any trade ideas where it may not seem like an obvious upgrade. Happy BR, Richardson, Ekeler, Madison, Lamb, Olave, Andrews, Dell. The bench is McLaurin, Laporta, Charbonnet, Hunt, Akers, McLaurin. So if we have Andrews and Laporta, the first thing that we can do is say that we probably should see what kind of value we could get for Sam Laporta. Now, the player that we also probably need to see what kind of value we could get is going to be Austin Ekeler. We don't have a viable backup running back we can put in there at RB2. In the short term, we're already 1 and 2, so we really can't fall to 1 and 3, 1 and 4 over the next 2 weeks with Ekeler not playing. So if you could send like Ekeler and Sam Laporta and go get back another elite level running back that is actually going to be playing in the short term, go get back someone like, say, Bijan Robinson, go get back someone like, obviously, CMC, I just doubt you can, or even someone like Tony Pollard. You'd probably be losing some value with Pollard, but still ultimately probably move we have to make if we are 1 and 2. Giovanni says 10-team PBR currently 3-0. We have Hurts, Moss, Connor, Adams, Puka, Hawkinson, Watson. On the bench, we have Cousins, Devon Achane, Dobbs, Godwin. Send a trade for Cousins, Devon Achane, and Moss for JT. What could we be looking for? If we have Jalen Hurts, Cousins, I think it's a fair deal, and honestly, I think that's what we're really going to look to do. Go get JT here. I mean, if you wanted to make a different trade, I think also trading for Kupp on a 3-0 team would make a lot of sense. If we could send like Cousins and Puka, honestly, almost the same deal. Cousins, Puka, and like a piece like Dobbs and go get Cooper Kupp. I think that would make a lot of sense on a 3-0 roster. Go Bills says Fields or Richardson, 6-point passing touchdown format. Fields has a phenomenal matchup against Denver, but you still have to go Richardson. Jay Spike says, full PBR, who do we drop? We have Lawrence, Love, Pollard, Mostert, Barkley, Devon Achane, Brian Robinson, Hall, Olave, Ridley, Atwell, Dell, Lockett, Laporta, and Waller. I do not want to have to drop anybody here. It's a very strong team, so my first thing that I would do is try to make a 2-for-1 deal. And the second thing I'd say is, let's probably just end up dropping Jordan Love, right? They would probably drop Love. Now, Keel says 10-team PBR, 1 flex. We have Watson, Bijan, Ramondre, Puka, Diggs, Kelsey, Amonra, Waddle on the bench. Should I do Puka for Anthony Richardson straight up? It's definitely an interesting trade, especially if Watson misses this week. I mean, obviously, Anthony Richardson looks phenomenal at the moment. What I'd probably try doing instead is if we could go ahead and sell Puka maybe with like Deshaun Watson and go get a quarterback upgrade there. I think that would make a little more sense. Now, Justin says 8-team PBR where we have Mahomes, Lamb, Smith, Gibbs, Mixon, Kelsey, Pittman, Aaron Jones, Watson, Addison, Kirk, Henry, JT. Thinking of moving Henry. What are your thoughts? 8-team format, I would love to do that. Love the Mahomes Kelsey stack in an 8-team league. If you wanted to go send like Derrick Henry and say Jordan Addison, and go get like Travis Etienne, or maybe even like a better package, go send like Derrick Henry and Devonta Smith and go get like Bijan Robinson in an 8-team format, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially in a full PPR league, my friend. Drew says pick 3. We have Connor, Ford, Brian Robinson, Pierce, and Mostert. We're going to be going with Mostert, James Conner, and Brian Robinson has a horrendous matchup, but I may still go Brian Robinson until we at least get to see what this role looks like for Jerome Ford with Kareem Hunt being fully implemented into the offense. Jesus says, start a receiver in a flex. We have Sanders, Brian Robinson, Hopkins, Wilson, Elijah, and Breida. We're going to be going Miles Sanders and Brian Robinson, my friend. We're going to go both RBs. AJ says, sit one, Henry, Moss, Swift, Kamara, or Joe Mixon. We maybe bench Mixon. Mixon does have a pretty tough matchup going up against Tennessee. I think actually we probably have to bench Alvin Kamara. Let's bench Kamara here, at least before, I mean, maybe when we get to see him, then next week we can change our mind, but we haven't even seen him yet. Now, NBA Quick Cut says 10-team full BBR format triple flex. We have Herbert, Gibbs, Javonte Cup, St. Brown, Keenan, Ridley, Godwin, Johnson, Goddard, Roschon, Gainwell, Spears, McKinnon. What should our next move be? Depth really matters in this league where we can start up to 5 wide receivers. If we can start up to 5 wide receivers, I mean, we have Cup, St. Brown, Keenan, Ridley, Godwin, all are in our lineup in the long term. I think that this is actually a really strong team. We have Herbert and Keenan stacked up as well. I would say with the play of Gibbs, if this is going to be a league where you started 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I would really like to go out there and try to upgrade at running back by selling a wide receiver. But, I mean, if we go through and make that move, maybe we solve a quote-unquote team need at running back, but then we just put ourselves in the same situation whenever you're looking at what we have at the flexes, right? So ultimately, I actually think we probably hold on to these wide receivers here. A lad says, would you sit Ramondre for Myers, Kirk, Nico, or Miles Sanders? A full BBR format? No, I'm going to still go Ramondre Stevenson. Connor says, who could I trade for Sanders and Christian Watson? You are not really going to be able to get anybody right now for Christian Watson. So I actually think that you probably are better off sitting on your hands and reevaluating once we get a spike week with Watson. Like, my man, hold Christian Watson for the time being, please. John says 3-0, least points 4. Oh, that's hilarious, my man. 12-team BBR double flex. Traded Javonte, Calvin Ridley for Tony Pollard. Great move. Lineup is Lawrence, Pollard, Hall, AJ Brown, Higgins, Ayuk, Kittle. Streaming Osborne. We have handcuffs, Sky Mims on the bench. Thoughts on the trade into a trade T for depth. 3-0 roster. No, we do not. I will say, typically, I don't want to load up our bench down there just with, say, only handcuffs. I mean, because if you are looking at that, my friend, I mean, it will prohibit you from finding some players that maybe are going to be viable in the flex spots. You will raise your floor, but you will also lower your ceiling. So I don't necessarily think we do anything else when it comes to trades because this team is 3-0 and we can wait and afford to figure it out. But maybe we just are active on the waiver wire and continuously churn this roster, my friend. Now, Ben says 10-team full BBR, where we have Goff, Bijan, Montgomery, Adams, Allen, Puka, Laporta. On the bench, we have Moore, Gibbs, Stroud, Palmer, Achane, and Musgrave. Got offered Lamb, Higgins, Thomas, and Lawrence for Stroud and Adams. 3-0, any roster advice. Going from Adams to Lamb, downgrade, but not a big deal. Going from Stroud to Lawrence, upgrade. We have Goff, so we can play the matchups. Picking up T. Higgins and Michael Thomas for free. I actually think we go ahead and do this. Then at that point, we're going to be dropping Luke Musgrave. We're going to be maybe letting go of Joshua Palmer if he's the other worst player on this team for us, my friend. And then I really like this team going forward. I mean, we're 3-0 for a reason. I think going out there and making this trade makes a lot of sense as well. And that maybe if you get the Lawrence bounce back, I mean, this could solve our quarterback situation. Or if it's not like Goff has been bad, but we could get a little bit more upside in here, right? Now, Matthias says, have PBR format, 1 flex. We have Jalen Hurts, Bijan, James Cook, Smith, DJ Moore, Musgrave. And then bench and flex, we have Gabe Davis, Charbonnet, Dobbs, Johnson, Justice Hill, any trade ideas. We don't have a lot of depth here. I don't necessarily think that there's anything that we can be trading. I just want to be active on the waiver wire. Obviously, we need to go out there and we need to be picking up another tight end. I wouldn't have been too excited about Luke Musgrave in the first place, knowing that with Christian Watson and Aaron Jones coming into this offense, you probably had to lower your expectations a bit when you were looking at these guys. But yeah, I think you need to go through and just drop some of those players down there and just solve the tight end position with streaming, my friend. Charles says, Hopkins, Kirk, Thielen, which one for the flex? I'm going to go Christian Kirk in a full PPR format with no Zay Jones. Eli says, 10-team PPR, we have Burrow, Richardson, Waddle, Kupp, Pittman, Myers, Puka, Hopkins, Lockett, Saquon, Pierce, Ford, Waller, Ertz. Do I trade Anthony Richardson, Jalen Waddle, Tyler Lockett for Allen, Brian Robinson, and Calvin Ridley? Obviously, we're getting a big-time upgrade there at quarterback. Waddle to Ridley, slight-time downgrade. Lockett to Brian Robinson, honestly, fair deal. I would just say it's a roster-to-roster type question. But hell yeah, if we're going to go from Anthony Richardson to Josh Allen, I think we for sure do this. And I actually really like, what you have with Anthony Richardson, my friend. If you're looking at Anthony Richardson, this is a quarterback that I would rank as like a top 5 to 10 option rest of season. But like Josh Allen's Josh Allen. He's been a top 3 quarterback every single season for the past 3. Michael says trade Addison, Ford, A-Chain. Get Derrick Henry and Puka. Would you do this? Addison to Puka, lateral move up to you. Ford and Devon A-Chain for Derrick Henry. I probably would. And who would you start? Herbert, Allen, or Palmer, or exchange Palmer for Puka? I would way rather trade. I would way rather have Puka over Palmer if that's what you're asking. I don't know what Allen that is. Are you saying Keenan Allen? Or no, would you start Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, and Palmer? Like, are you worried about having too many charges? Not worried about having too many charges, but I would way rather start Puka over Palmer just because the player. Now, Mighty Mouse says 10-team full PBR 1 flex. We have Lamar, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Etienne, White, Hawkinson, Addison, DJ Moore, Pacheco, A-Chain. Traded Richardson, Williams, Laporta for Olave, Fields, and Kincaid. Richardson to Fields downgrade. Laporta to Kincaid downgrade. Jay Williams to Olave, massive upgrade. Because we have Lamar Jackson, I'm fine with making this move, my friend. Because we have Lamar, we're not starting Richardson anyway. I'm fine with it. Now, Colton says traded Puka and Ford for Devonta Smith. Was this a good move? Long term, if it's a shallow format, I think so. I think most people will tell you to take the other side, though. Sundog says 3-0, 12-team league. Happy BR. Chubb owner. Tua, Pierce, Javonte, Cheetah, Debo, Puka, Andrews, London, Lockett, Flowers, Warren, Hunt, Ford. Should we make a move for a running back or ride it out? Thanks. So thank you, my friend. 3-0 roster. You have a lot of flexibility here. I do think that we have enough wide receiver firepower that I would trade for a running back. If we could send like Javonte and Puka and get up to the ETN range, I think that'd be a no-brainer. Obviously, if you don't have a price point that you like when it comes to the running backs, you're not going to be like forced to go out there and do that though, just because, we're 3-0, right? When you're 3-0, you have a lot of flexibility, even if you lost Nick Chubb. Now, Feathered and Lethal says 0-3, 10-team full BBR, 3 receivers, 1 flex. We lost Chubb and Williams. We're starting Tua, Mixon, White, Tyreek, T, Puka, Ferguson, Devon A-Chain. The bench is Ford, Burrow, Kirk, Palmer, Charbonnet, Pirine, London. Traded Ford and Kirk for Watson. Ideas for an upgrade at running back or tight ends. Honestly, I don't like the deal, my friend. Specifically on an 0-3 roster, we can't really be thinking just long-term here. If we're going to be looking at what you have with Christian Watson, you have to think a little more short-term. I think, honestly, and once we make that move too, we don't have enough depth to go out there and upgrade tight end. It sucks. You have to play Jake Ferguson and see if something changes, see if things do get turned around. But in reality, I don't want to come out here and act like, oh yeah, you're going to be in a great spot. I mean, just go ahead and trade London and Ferguson and go get Dalton Kincaid. Does that, go get Dallas Goedert. Does that really solve anything? Probably not. In a 3 wide receiver league, we probably need to hold on to the little depth that we have. It really sucks. I just think that once you make that 2-for-1 deal, and we've already lost Chubb and Williams, you're not going to be able to afford to go out there and trade for a better tight end. Now, Jay Will says, have BBR 2 receivers and a flex. Lockett and Godwin for Jalen Waddle. I would definitely take Jalen Waddle in this format, my friend. Raj says, I have Connor as my RB2 in Madison, Achane, Pierce, Pacheco on the bench. Should we trade Connor for Garrett Wilson? Wilson would not start for me. Then hell no. Then we have no business going for him, my man. Two Gender says, did I win this trade? Traded away Swift for Devonta Smith in a full BBR format. My team is Fields, Bijan, Pacheco, Taylor, AJ, Parker, Kupp, Waller. Really like this team in the long term, and I am completely fine with this deal. Full BBR format, obviously going to be a little bit more inclined to go with the wide receiver there in the flex. Miguel says 12-team BBR, we're 3-0. We have Lawrence, Etienne, Walker, DK, Pittman, Kelsey, Hopkins. On the bench, we have Jimmy G, Algier, Charbonnet, Chark, Quentin Johnson, and Christian Watson. Any moves? Not necessarily. I would love to see if we have a better waiver wire quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo for the long term. We are rostering a ton of wide receivers here. Maybe we look to try to pick up an extra running back off the waiver wire like Tajay Spears that has some upside if the starter were to go down in front of him. But in terms of trades, I think you're in a phenomenal spot. Very impressive that we're 3-0, even with the Kelsey injury early on. And on top of that, having to deal with Lawrence's bad play. I think this team's going to get better, and we're already 3-0. Now, Davion coming out says, just became a member, but can you rate the team? Would love to, my friend. We have Hurts, Cook, Jacobs, Mostert, Kupp, Olave, Flowers. Tight end is Pitts, and then on the bench, we have Elijah Moore and Rachaad White. I really like this team. I will say it's an interesting blend of short-term production when you're looking at someone like Raheem Mostert, where maybe we're a little bit, and I repeat, just a little bit more concerned about the long-term if Jeff Wilson Jr., Devon Achane expand their roles in this offense. But also we have the long-term covered with someone like Cooper Kupp, who obviously will be coming in, Zay Flowers, who will be expanding his role. We have a nice amount of depth across the entire team. I think it's a great team. I don't even think there's anything we look to do. AJ, welcome to being a member of the flock, my man. Sidekick says, help with the starts. We need one flex in a non-PBR. Henry Pollard will be our starters at running back. Non-PBR wide receiver is going to be a little less advantageous. We'll go Brandon Ayuk and Puka Nacua, even if Nacua is way less appealing in a non-PBR format. And then over at running back, we're probably going to end up going with Rachaad White for the flex. I think White and Kamara both take a hit in a non-PBR format in comparison to a full PBR league. But you may have to be concerned about Taysom vulturing rushing touchdowns. We don't know just yet. And then you're saying, thanks, Flock. No, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. And thank you, everybody, for coming to hang out with us. And if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. We just hit 400 likes on the stream, but it looks like less than 10% of y'all have hit that like. And also, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, find in the description, find in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $500. Plus, you'll be getting an exclusive Patrick Mahomes special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard, and our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Clyde says in a Dynasty league, the Lamar and Andrews stack plus Hawkinson, trade for which tight end? I would rather have Hawkinson in Dynasty. If that's what are you asking, who would you rather have in Dynasty, Hawkinson or Andrews? I'd rather have Hawkinson in a vacuum, but at the same time, Hawkinson's probably also going to be more expensive for you to trade for. At least I would assume that he would be. Russ says, how does Jameson coming back affect Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs, etc.? So Jameson coming back, I'm not going to be moving Amon-Ra St. Brown down in our rankings. If you look at how Jameson Williams will most likely impact the Detroit Lions, what I'm expecting is Jameson Williams to come in and be a vertical element, to take defensive attention away, to really be a nightmare for defensive coordinators. I mean, they're probably going to end up having to keep 2 safeties back, yada, yada, yada. But with that being said, Jameson Williams himself probably is not going to be someone that's commanding a ton of volume. So I think maybe you have a small hit to the other skill positional guys in Detroit when it comes to their volume. But at the same time, I think you get a big bump when it comes to their efficiency, if that makes sense. Okay. Innate Dog says, Henry Pittman for Etienne and Hopkins. What are your thoughts? I probably go Etienne and Hopkins full PPR. I think you upgrade at running back, downgrade at receiver. Bob says, love your videos, my good man. Thank you. Appreciate everything you do. Happy BR 12 team 1 flex. Start 2. Puka, Ayuk, Lockett, DJ Moore, and Adam Thielen. We're going to go with the combination of Ayuk and Puka. Long term, we can reevaluate this. But short term, when you still have no Cooper Kupp in, you have to be going with Puka as a must-start guy. Now, Arnell says in a 10-team PBR 1 flex, we're 1 and 2. We have Allen and Geno, Walker, Aaron Jones, White, Javonte, Warren, Jamar, St. Brown, Godwin, Sutton, Palmer, Goddard at tight end. Any moves we should be looking to make? Not necessarily. I mean, typically I don't love rostering 2 quarterbacks. If we have like Josh Allen, right, we can rely on Allen every single week, but we are in an interesting situation where Geno Smith is a little too good to go out there and cut, where at the same time, he's not good enough to give us any real value. We have a ton of running back depth. If you really wanted to go through and send like one of these running back depth pieces, like say Rachaad White and Dallas Goedert, and see if we can get a player like Mark Andrews, I think it'd make a lot of sense in this format with this roster. I think it's a great team. I'm surprised we're 1 and 2. Ollie says Daniel Jones or Stroud. We're going to go Daniel Jones in a good matchup where he also has the rushing upside, my friend. Steelheader says I'm being offered Najee and Debo for Saquon and Michael Thomas. It's going to be Saquon and Michael Thomas, and it's not going to be close. You're saying, what's your opinion or chat's opinion? Everybody in the chat, let me know where are you going? Would you rather have Najee Harris and Debo Samuel or Saquon Barkley and Michael Thomas? Please spam the chat what you would rather have. But my friend, the thing is with Najee, I mean, he's splitting that backfield 50-50. Whereas if you're going to be looking at what you get with Saquon, you have a true 3-down back. And I think Debo Samuel does take a small step backwards when you have Brandon Ayuk coming back in. Dime says, don't have a question, just sick of Najee W stream. Always appreciate you, my man. And let me go ahead and make you a moderator on the channel as well. You're always out here. Like I said, if you're a moderator, don't have to do anything. If you see someone copying and pasting their question over and over again, you can feel free to tell them, hey, knock it out. And then if they don't, hit put user in timeout. If you don't have to deal with it, you don't have to. Now, Tyler says 12-team at BBR format. We have CMC, Jacobs, Ford, Waddle, Lockett, Dell, Addison, Zay. Trade Addison, Ford, Lockett for Olave, Myers, Akers. So Ford to Akers, clear downgrade. Lockett to Myers, lateral move. Addison to Olave, massive upgrade. I actually probably would look to go through and do this. If we make this deal, though, we'll be a little bit light on running backs. So at that point, we probably would want to go ahead and we probably would want to roster as many running backs on the waiver wire as we can. Now, Dab Mark Corona says non-BBR flex Godwin or Devon Achane. I probably go Devon Achane, especially if you look at the touchdown. I mean, just the amount of points that you will have scored in Miami in comparison to the amount of points that you'll have scored in Tampa. Nerd says 6-point passing touchdown. Richardson or Cousins, thank you. No, thank you, my friend. 6-point passing touchdown format, you definitely go Kirk Cousins. Manny says trade Walker London for Jacobs and Watson. We're getting an upgrade at wide receiver, a lateral / downgrade move at running back. I think it's a fair deal, and it is going to be up to you, my friend. Zach says 8-team happy BR format. Start 2. We have, should we trade Mostert for Fields in a 2 QB league? It's a little more intriguing. Keep in mind, it's going to be an 8-team format, so it will be easy to come by quarterbacks. We have Ertz at QB1, been riding the waiver wire for QB2, plenty of running back depth. Under those circumstances, I probably do, but everybody keep in mind, this is a 2-quarterback format. You would never trade Mostert for Fields in a 1-quarterback league. Jeffrey says 3-0, 12-team at BBR with only 1 flex. We have Allen, CMC or Madre, Gibbs, Evans, Amari, Watson, Cup, Hawkinson. What do we do with Gibbs? Do we hold or trade? So if you are looking at Gibbs, my man, I mean, it is an interesting question, but what would you get in return? Like, realistic question. What do you expect to get for Jahmyr Gibbs? I'll tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get nothing. Nobody wants to trade for him. Nobody really wants Jahmyr Gibbs at this point, my friend. I think that you would be better off just going through holding on a 3-0 roster where we can afford to go out there and wait for the long term, right? Okay. Now, Jaden says, is A.J. Dillon drop worthy? Sanders is questionable. We have James Cook, Najee, Charbonnet. One is Stash Hubbard. We're stacked at receiver. I think A.J. Dillon is drop worthy. It's painful to say, but ultimately, I mean, we saw what he looked like, right, with no Aaron Jones. We were starting him and he was giving us nothing with no Aaron Jones. We've seen what he looks like with Aaron Jones and it's nothing. So I think you can drop him. Now, Rizzle says 0-3, 8-team league, 1 flex. We have Allen, Kyron, James Cook, Chase, Amon-Ra, Puka, Hawkinson. On the bench, we have Robinson, Terry, Madison, White, Kirk, JT. What's the next move? Okay. 8-team league, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. You need to go through and you need to take one of these depth pieces like Alexander Madison, send them with Puka to try to go get an upgrade in that flex spot right now. Like if you can go send Puka and Madison or Puka and Brian Robinson or Puka, literally Puka with anybody on this bench not named Jonathan Taylor, and get up to the Waddle, get up to the Olave, get up to the St. Brown, get up to the A.J. Brown range. We would love to do that. Now, Joe says 10-team PBR, 2-1, double flex. We have Lawrence, Etienne, Najee, Keenan, Pittman, Palmer, McLaurin, Ford, White, Kelsey, Cup, Ryan Robinson, Hunt, Richardson. What trades, and then what are we doing with Joshua Palmer? Palmer, you hold, you don't start him. I'd say if we have Lawrence and Richardson, start Richardson, but if Lawrence looks like he's going to be a must-start player, I mean, going forward, if he really bounces back, then at that point, we could trade one of these guys, but not until we see that. I mean, ultimately, the depth is pretty nice with this team. I think you're going to be starting Etienne and Rashad White at running back. Wide receiver, you're going to start Keenan and Pittman. And then for the 2 flex spots in a full PBR format, probably going to be going with like Brian Robinson and Jerome Ford, my friend. Now, John says full BBR Mixon or Godwin. We're going to go Mixon, even though it's a really tough matchup. RZ says have BBR flex Sanders, Gabe Davis, or Roshan. I'm going to go with Miles Sanders if he's good to go. Hayden says PBR 0-3, start 2 running backs in a flex. We have Saquon, Kyron, Walker, Swift, Dell, Davis. We're loaded at wide receiver, quarterbacks Jalen Hurts. It's a PBR 2-1 team, 1 flex. We have DJ, Palmer, Devon Achane, Godwin, Davis. Thank you. Bring back the Odell intro. Thank you, my man, for being with us since the Odell intro. The sad thing is with YouTube, you can't do intros really anymore. It kind of hurts you in the algo. But I think it's a solid team. I mean, if we were to go through and do anything, I mean, I don't think I would say we don't do anything. The only thing is, based off how good the matchup is right now for DJ Moore going up against the Denver Broncos, I'd probably play DJ Moore over Tank Dell for this week. Like, let me see what the pick'ems are for these guys. You have DJ Moore right now, 3.5 receptions, 46.5 total yards in Chicago. Whereas you look at Tank Dell, I guess they have Tank Dell for about the same amount, right? 3.5 receptions and 45.5 receiving yards. I mean, I just think that there's that outside chance the Denver Broncos offense has given up. And they're playing for nothing at this point. Rami says, Evans and Michael Pittman Jr. for Waddle. Is it worth it? Full PBR 3-0. Probably need a slightly better receiver. I would do this for like Olave or A.J. Brown or St. Brown. Nerd says, full PBR Adams or Diggs. I'm still going to go Diggs over Adams. Shazuka says, should I trade Lamb for Puka and Waddle? I most likely would prefer Lamb if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, my friend. John says 0-3, 12-team full BBR format where we have Danny Dimes, Madison, Connor Ridley, Garrett Wilson, Dell, Laporta. And then on the bench, we have Montgomery, Judy, Charbonnet, Elijah, Stroud, Algier, Cup on the IR. Any thoughts? Thank you for the nonstop content. You're the GOAT. Appreciate you, my friend. Obviously, if we are 0-3, we are prioritizing production today and not tomorrow. So, I mean, if we could go out there and sell Cooper Kupp and Tank Dell and go get a player like A.J. Brown right now, go get a player like CeeDee Lamb right now, we probably do it. But it's much easier said than done. That's just if we have someone that's willing to go out there and pay a really nice price for Cooper Kupp. I still think that Kupp's going to be a great option. Just specifically on 0-3 roster, it'd be nice to not fall to 0-4. X Phelan says traded Swift and Kittle for Kelsey in a 14-team league. A great deal. Also traded Swift and Garrett Wilson for St. Brown. I definitely like the Kelsey trade. The Swift and Garrett Wilson for St. Brown is going to be a little bit closer depending on your format. But, I mean, I definitely view Kelsey as one of those top players. Now, Scarface coming out says 12-team at BBR, 4-point touchdown league. We have Lamar, Keenan, Godwin, Bijan, Etienne, Hawk, Hollywood. On the bench, we have Dobbs, Elijah Mitchell, Boyd, Hayden Hurst, Marvin Mims, sit tight / any trades. So it would be nice to get an upgrade there at the flex, but if we were to go through and do that, how would we go about it? We would either, one, have to trade a stud, which we don't want to do, or two, we would trade some of this depth to go and make a 2-for-1 deal where possibly we can find a slight upgrade. And if you look at the depth that this team has, I mean, do we have any depth on this team that people actually want to trade for? Probably not, right? So we're probably actually stuck with the team we have. I don't think there's a clear trade to make, my friend. Colin says, hey, Mason, back we have Anthony Richardson. He countered with Lockett, Jalen Warren for Anthony Richardson, Chuba Hubbard. We have Etienne Walker. I probably rather have Anthony Richardson here, my friend. I mean, if you are looking at this, Anthony Richardson still is a quarterback that has a considerable amount of upside. Max says, do I do Henry and Devonta Smith for Chase and Pacheco? Ooh. Full BBR format, I think I may take the best player in Chase. I may do it. Now, and I don't like Pacheco. I'm not in love with Pacheco, though. Alex says Puka and Moss for Pittman and Kirk. No, I think you need more for Puka and Moss. The thing is with Christian Kirk, right? You don't know what it's going to look like when Zay Jones comes back in. Steven says start help. It's a league with one flex where we have Bijan, Ramadre, Javante, Alexander Madison, Tyreek, Diggs, Hollywood, Ferguson, or Kincaid. Appreciate you, my dog. Appreciate you, my friend. I mean, I think we would go with Ferguson over Kincaid this week. I would go Kincaid over Ferguson long-term. Our two running backs will be Bijan, Ramadre, Stevenson. Our wide receivers will be Hill and Diggs. And then I think our flex, we are going to be going with Alexander Madison, even if I am worried about the Cam Akers usage. Now, Keith says James Conner, A.J. Brown for A.J. Brown, Damian Pierce. So James Conner or Damian Pierce, I'm going to go James Conner over Pierce, my friend. Christopher says getting AG, giving Ayuk. Skeptical. I like both. I'm going to go JT here. I mean, if we're just chasing upside, which is typically what I look for in fantasy, I think JT has a higher ceiling than Brandon Ayuk. Remember, last year, Jonathan Taylor was the #1 overall pick in fantasy football drafts. Victor says 12-team PPR where we have Tua, Javante, Derrick Henry, Tyreek, Jamar, Kittle, Pickens. And then on the bench, we have Breece, Jameson, Roshan, Tutu, Spears, Palmer, Ferguson. What are we thinking? Great team now that we're getting Jameson Williams back in. I mean, obviously, if we could sell Tutu and like Pickens and get legitimately any upgrade there at the flex, we do it before Kupp is back. But I mean, much easier said than done. We're probably just sitting on our hands here. Or obviously, if we wanted to go like Tutu and Javante and get a running back upgrade. But no, I think it's a well-balanced team. I think you can like where you're at, my friend. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Brian says 10-team PBR 2-1. We have Tua, Burrow, Chase, Olave, Pollard, Gibbs, Waller, Puka, Mostert, Addison, Kamara, Dell, Watson. Should we trade Kamara and Mostert for Saquon? 10-team league, if we were starting 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, where I just want the best player, I probably go ahead and look to do this. I think you get Saquon actually playing again this week, as early as it is. I mean, he has practiced for, I believe, 3 straight days now. I think he hasn't missed practice in 3 days. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 10 likes away from hitting 500 likes on the stream. Please, if you have not done so already, Go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Help us get to 500. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat. Find it in the description. Find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. You're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $500 on Underdog Fantasy. Plus, you're going to be getting our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And you'll be getting a Patrick Mahomes special pick'em. More than, less than half a total yard going up against the Jets on Sunday night. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Alex, who says, have BBR double flex 2-1. We have Cousins, Pollard, Sanders, Diggs, Debo, DK, Puka, Palmer, Waller, Sutton, Dillon. We need a running back. Was thinking Debo and Dillon for Austin Ekeler. Any other running backs to target? Been here since the Odell intro. Appreciate you, my man. And when did we stop that? We were doing that definitely in 2020, right? I think we stopped that maybe early 2021. But nonetheless, I think you have to make this deal. I mean, Debo Samuel is literally just a waiver wire player at this point. Going through, if you can sell Debo for Austin Ekeler, I mean, that makes so much sense. And obviously, we're sacrificing some of the production in the short term, but we are getting the production in the long term. This is a 2-1 team where, I mean, we can begin to afford that long-term production. And even though he is going to be missing the next 2 weeks, I mean, really every player is going to be missing one more week going forward, right, with their bye. So, I mean, week 5 is his bye, gets him 100% healthy. It's a really nice timing for everything. I think that'd be a great move, my friend. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from Prohibit says, would you do Godwin and Khalil Herbert for Zay and Myers? If you wanted to go get Flowers and Myers, not going to fault you at all. Gianni says traded Henry for Diggs. Oh, great deal. Easily Stephon Diggs there. Manny, I had Stephon Diggs ranked over Derrick Henry coming into the season. I mean, let alone from what we've seen with these two guys so far, right? Now, Manny says 16-team PBR double flex where we have Lamar, CMC, Walker, Gabe Davis, Wilson, London, Andrews, Laporta. On the bench, we have Devon Achane, Hunt, Elijah Moore. Any moves to make? Also start Devon Achane, Moore, or Drake London. Okay. We're going to go Achane. 16-team format. No, we sit on our hands. We have the Andrews Lamar stack. If we wanted to go through and make a move, the trade is we send Sam Laporta and we see if we can get a great wide receiver in return. If you could go through and send Sam Laporta and go get someone in like the Brandon Ayuk range, that'd be really nice because obviously a wide receiver there in that range, you would naturally expect to, I mean, outscore Laporta from a points per game perspective. And since we have Andrews starting every single week regardless, really the raw points per game between those players is all that we're focused in on. We don't really care about the positional advantage, right? Adrian says, congrats on 200K. Thank you, my man. 2-1, 8-team at BBR format. Rate the team. We have Herbert, Bijan, Swift, Mixon, Charbonnet, Devon Achane, Diggs, Ekeler, Lamb, Watson, Goddard. Any moves / suggestions? Trying to think. 8-team league. Obviously, if we could go get an elite level tight end, that'd be advantageous. I don't know if we could afford it here. If you could somehow swindle yourself into like a Swift, Goddard, Watson deal into like Kelley, then let's do it. If you maybe in this kind of format, if you wanted to go ahead and I don't know. I think it's a well-balanced team. It's very hard to make a trade with this roster. You're 2-1 for a reason. Bijan's going to continue to get better. Really, the only thing is if we get an elite level tight end in an 8-team format somehow, I would like to go ahead and do that. Now, Keith says, James Conner, Olave for A.J. Brown and Dameon Pierce. A.J. Brown over Olave, Conner versus Pierce. Give me Conner. Very fair deal. I think it's up to you. Very fair deal, up to you. Big Bird says Lawrence or Stroud. We're going to go Lawrence. I'm 0-3, mother flockers. We need it. I guess Lawrence is probably a big reason why we are 0-3, right? But I think that there's an outside chance we do get that Lawrence bounce back this next week. Sam says 10-team full BBR format. I traded Mostert, Madison, London for Olave, James Cook. Did we win the move? I mean, London, Madison versus Olave. Olave by a mile. Mostert, James Cook. Up to you. So yes, I think we won. Hayden says, I was asking start sit for 2 separate leagues. So super sorry about that, Hayden. Let me go ahead and see if we can pull this back up. Okay. We are not going to be able to on this screen. So give me a second to pull this up on the other. And as I pull this up, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want all of my premium content, if you want my rest of season fantasy football rankings, if you want me to break down your fantasy football team in a way that I can do much better than in this live stream, you can find all of that on flockfantasy.com. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get 30% off any subscription. And like I said, with promo code FLOCK and that mother flogger tier, yours truly, Mason Dodd, will go through and break down your fantasy football team in depth with a podcast. But okay, so 2 running backs in a flex: Saquon, Kyron, Walker, Swift, Dell, Davis. We're going to go Saquon, Kyron, Walker. Start all 3. Unless you're worried about Saquon, then you go Swift. If you're worried about Saquon, go Swift, Kyron, Walker. Then the other league, we need 1 flex between DJ Moore, Palmer, Devon Achane, Godwin, Davis. Thank you. Appreciate you, my friend. Full BBR format, you may want to opt to go with the wide receiver. I think that Devon Achane may be someone that we want to roll the dice with there, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, Devon Achane is someone that it's so hard to know what you were going to get. Like, I don't think he is a must-start player by any means, but I'm very scared to go through and tell people to bench him. Just given the fact that the man pretty much in his first game dropped 50 points, right? And this looks like one of the best offenses in the NFL. Now, Seamless says trade Zay Flowers for Miles Sanders. We needed an RB. If you need a running back, I'm fine with it, my man. Cole says 10-team BBR 2-1. We have Herbert, Bijan, James Cook, Chase, Higgins, Keenan, Kelsey. On the bench, we have Lockett, Flowers, Ford, Gabe Davis, Khalil Herbert. And on the IR, we have Jonathan Taylor. Any trades? When we have this much depth, especially if we're about to get JT back in, I would love to take like Lockett and Ford and go get a better running back or a wide receiver just to open up another roster spot as well. So when we bring back JT this next week, but phenomenal team. I mean, team, I guess, has dodged literally every single injury. Cameron says, we traded Swift and DJ Moore for T and James Cook, where we have Herbert, Bijan, T, Walker, Andrews, Pittman, Tank, Dell, starting Cup in the IR. Swift and DJ Moore for T and James Cook. Swift, James Cook, up to you. T over DJ Moore, so I like it. Especially as Burrow gets out there and you assume that T Higgins and this offense just improves naturally. Cole says 2-1 PBR, where we have Jefferson, Evans, Higgins, Wilson, Dell, Henry, James Conner, Montgomery. Trade Garrett Wilson and James Conner for Deebo Samuel. Honestly, probably not, my man, with the outside chance, and obviously it's a small shot, but with the outside chance that you end up getting a quarterback change for the Jets and Garrett Wilson gets a bump, there's a tiny chance that you end up actually getting Garrett Wilson and Deebo Samuel as comparable players at this point. So I probably don't do this. Now, Vincent says just got offered Jonathan Taylor and Michael Thomas for Kyron Williams and Jalen Waddle. Do we accept? Our receivers are Ridley, Ayuk, Michael Thomas, Tank Dell. Our running backs are CMC, Walker, JT, Roshan. And what are your thoughts? JT and Michael Thomas versus Kyron and Jalen Waddle. Give me JT over Kyron. Give me Waddle over MT. I think it is a very fair deal. Can everybody spam the chat? This is one that I don't know. Can everybody go to the live chat right now and let me know? Would you rather have Jonathan Taylor and Michael Thomas or Kyron Williams and Jalen Waddle? Like, how do you look at that? JT does have so much upside coming back, though. It's Dave Man says JT ain't playing this season. We got Waddle. We got everybody saying Waddle here. I thought it was closer than y'all are indicating. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm overestimating Jonathan Taylor's probability of coming back. I thought that was really close. But Cole says got offered Mahomes and Henry for Herbert, Ford, Higgins. Herbert to Mahomes, clear upgrade. Ford and Higgins for Derrick Henry. I probably go ahead and do this. You can use the tiebreaker that obviously Justin Herbert loses Mike Williams, so maybe Patrick Mahomes is a little bit more exciting as well. Worried about my wide receivers with what are your thoughts? Just trade Ford and Herbert for Patrick Mahomes. I would do either deal. I'd be either deal. I would also include T. Higgins for Derrick Henry. I mean, wide receiver depth's going to be easy to trade for if you really needed to. Clayton says, my running backs in a 12-team full BBR league are CMC, Javonte, Khalil Herbert, where we lost Dobbins. Should we trade CMC and Atwell for Bijan and Saquon? So Atwell's literally nothing. Would we have CMC versus Bijan and Saquon Robbins? I mean, 99.99% of the time, I'm telling people to go ahead and take Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley. In this very specific instance, I go CMC. In this very specific instance, I think we go with the package. I mean, those are 2 first-round running backs, right? It's not like we're selling low on CMC there. It's Hunter says 10-team BBR, 1 flex. We need help. We have Dak, Judy, Ridley, Flowers, Moore, Watson, Thielen, AJ Brown, Etienne, Bijan, Moss, JT. Tight end, we have Darren Waller. Okay. Single flex format, we are not too concerned about the depth. Running back is pretty much perfect as is. Tight end's going to get better. If you wanted to take a depth wide receiver like Zay Flowers, send him with Dak Prescott if you could get a quarterback that you're really excited about in return. If we could go like Dak and Flowers for Lamar, we do it. But in reality, I think that's a great team. I'm surprised to hear that we're 1 and 2. Now, Anthony says, Dynasty, 10-team BBR, 1 quarterback, 1 flex. I was offered Brian Robinson, Hollywood, Nico, and a future second for Walker. Is there a better deal out there? What do you want to do with Walker? I want to hold Walker. This is year 2. He's still on that rookie deal. I think that honestly, I'd rather have Kenneth Walker, especially in a 10-team league, unless it's a start 12 Dynasty league. Levi says traded Moss, Moore for Waddle. What are you thinking? I really like Jalen Waddle here because I do think that there is a shot that I think it's more likely than not that Jonathan Taylor comes back. Crow says 10-team BBR 1 and 2, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. We have Keenan, DK, Kirk, Bijan, Saquon, Jacobs, and then on the bench we have Kyron, Dobbs, Watson, McLaurin. Starts and trade suggestions. We're going to be starting Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, and yes, we'll go Christian Kirk. Then at running back, we're going to be starting Bijan, Saquon. Actually, if you don't have to worry about Saquon, we'll go Bijan, Jacobs, Kyron. I think we leave the team as is when it comes to trades. Long-term, obviously, we are starting Saquon, I guess, because he plays on Monday. We don't have to take any risk here, though. We don't have to. Okay. Now, David says, who do we start, Addison or Davis, full PBR format? I'm going to go Jordan Addison, even if I really like the game environment for Gabe Davis. Ryan says, 10-team at BBR double flex league. We have Dalvin, Roshan, Hunt, Dell, Sutton, London. Is anybody droppable to make waiver moves or based off the bench? Thanks, sir. Thank you, my friend. If we are looking at someone that we would drop in this team, I think the first drop, honestly, would probably surprise you. I think it would probably be Dalvin Cook. I mean, because the thing is, if you look at the Dalvin Cook situation right now, if they are splitting the backfield 3 ways with Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, and Michael Carter Jr., like Dalvin Cook, even if Breece Hall goes down, it's not like he turns into a must-start running back all of a sudden. Vincent says 12-team at BBR double flex, no tight end. Rate the team. We have Burrow, Ridley, Ayuk, CMC, Walker, Dell, Laporta. On the bench, we have MT, Goddard, Roshan, Downs, Elijah, Garoppolo, and JT. Any trade ideas or suggestions? Sorry about the spam. No, all good, my man. Thank you so much for always being out here with us. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a better quarterback in the short term over Burrow. Garoppolo's not going to be anything, though. Definitely still start Burrow over Jimmy G. Double flex format, depth's going to matter a little bit more. We don't have a ton of it. So honestly, with this team, I'm probably not really going to be making any moves. in terms of the start-sit decisions that we're making right now, actually, I guess we can make a move here. If we can take the name value that Sam Laporta is giving us, send him with Michael Thomas and go get an upgrade at wide receiver, I would really like that, especially if we have the depth of Jonathan Taylor coming in as well. Because if you are looking at what you're going to get here with Sam Laporta, I mean, you like him because of the value that he gives you over the replacement level tight ends, right? But you don't necessarily like the value that he's going to give you in that flex spot. So it would be very interesting to go through and just send Sam Laporta, Michael Thomas, and get an upgrade at wide receiver. I don't want to be rostering multiple tight ends on really any team, especially not a team where, I mean, you don't even have to start a tight end. Rami says Jefferson for Diggs, Puka, and Cordell Patterson. I would rather have Jefferson over Diggs and Puka. Cordell Patterson's a non-factor. John says, full BBR second flex spot. We have Johnston, Rice, Gus Bus, Algier, or third time's the charm with Joshua Kelley. Oh my God. We got to run it back, don't we? Do I want Rashee Rice or the starting running back for the Los Angeles Chargers? I'm going to tell 99.9999% of people to go ahead and to bench Joshua Kelley. But if the question's like Quentin Johnson, Rashee Rice, or Joshua Kelley, in this very specific instance, we probably got to go Kelley, my friend. Jay says, what's up, Flock? Rate the team, 14-team, one flex league. We just traded Moss and Mostert for Saquon. Really like that. We now have Allen, James Cook, Ramondre, St. Brown. Oh, this is a 14-team format. We are a lock for this shit, my man, because if you're looking at this, Allen locked in top 14 QB. We have an elite level QB1. James Cook, probably a top 14 running back. We have an RB1. Ramondre Stevenson, maybe a top 14 running back, definitely a top 28 running back. Minimum, we have an RB2 and possibly 2 running back ones. Saquon Barkley, top 14 running back, we have an RB1. St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, definitely top 14 wide receivers. We have 2 wide receiver ones. T. Higgins, maybe a top 14 wide receiver when Burrow's fully healthy. We may have another wide receiver one. Nasty team, even if it was a 10-team league, 14-team league, it just makes it that much better. Now, David says, pick 2 to start full BBR. Thielen, Atwell, Hopkins, and Jerry Jeudy. We're going to be going with Jerry Jeudy, and honestly, now that Treylon Burks is ruled out, I will be bumping up DeAndre Hopkins, even if we wouldn't have said that initially. 20 says 12-team BBR format 1 and 2. Suggestions on a flex / quarterback upgrade. Quarterback, we have Lawrence. Wide receiver, we have Adams, A.J. Brown. Running back, we have Bijan James Cook. Tight end, we have Andrews. The flex, we have Terry McLaurin. And then down there on the bench, we have Brees, Gabe, Quentin Johnston, A.J. Dillon, Robert Woods, Antonio Gibson. So I think you're going to be fine at quarterback. I think you will get a bounce back from Lawrence. I'm not going to be too worried. Flex is where I'd be more so concerned. And the only thing I'd say is we don't want to be making any trades right now. But I would definitely try to opt to be rostering guys down there on the bench that maybe have a little bit of a higher ceiling. And if we could go through and maybe just say, like, drop Robert Woods and pick up another player off the waiver wire, like at running back, that maybe has higher ceiling if a guy were to go down in front of him, I'd like that. Gabriel says 2-1, 12-team BBR double flex. We have Hurts, Lawrence, Ramondre, Achane, Condre, Bigsby. Wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Zay, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, London, Addison. Tight end, we have Waller, Musgrave, any moves. We're going to cut Musgrave at this point. I mean, we're starting Waller regardless of matchup. And then honestly, I don't think we're going to be making any trade before the game this Sunday. But if we have Lawrence popping against the Atlanta Falcons, then at that point, we probably want to go through and we probably want to be seeing if we can package together like Trevor Lawrence and a running back for a running back upgrade, considering the fact that we have Jalen Hurts. When you have a great quarterback tight end combo like this, you don't really need that backup QB, backup tight end, right? I mean, if you really wanted another backup tight end with Waller, you could. But John says, should we trade Wilson for Flowers straight up? It's tough. I would be fine if you wanted to do this, given the injuries that we have to the other Baltimore Ravens wide receivers. I probably don't do it right now, just with the small hope that they go out there and I don't know. They trade for a quarterback, right? Like if there's a 5% chance they trade for Kirk Cousins, you probably want Garrett Wilson here. BB says 12-team shallow PBR format, 0-3. We have Love and Fields. We're going to go Fields this week. Hopefully we didn't go Love. Then we'll probably maybe be 0-4. Adams, Lamb, Etienne, Kamara, Moss, Igby, MT, Hollywood, Hunt, Deontay Wilson on the IR. Help in any trade ideas. Really the only thing we could say with this team, my man, is if it's going to be a shallow format, especially if we're 0-3, if we could take Deontay Johnson, go send him with literally anybody else to get an upgrade in the starting lineup, when we know we're not going to have production from him for the next few weeks and we don't want to fall to 0-4, I think that would be intriguing, my friend. That would be the one thing we'd be looking at. Dime says we have Hurts and we traded Kirk and Gainwell for Breece Hall. If it's Cousins, I think we could have gotten a little bit more. I mean, obviously, if they make a play at quarterback, it's a trade that you're going to have a massive win, though. Now, GLM coming out saying 0-3, 10-team, full BBR format, 1 flex, 3 receivers. We have Ekeler, Cook, Mostert, Hall, Lamb, Higgins, Ridley, Goddard, Dell. Should we wait things out or make crazy trades? You're going to have to make a crazy deal. You're going to have to go and send Ekeler and try to get Tony Pollard. Even if you need to throw in someone like Tank Dell, go send Tank Dell and Austin Ekeler. Get Bijan Robinson. Get Tony Pollard. Eckler's not going to play the next 2 weeks. He's most likely missing this week. The next week he has a bye. We don't want to fall to 0-5. Let's go out there. Let's get a running back that's going to play right now. Booyah says, Zach Moss, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon. Only 1 running back for the starter and flex option. We have Ridley, Pittman, Godwin. 2 wide receivers, have Hill starting. Who to start at the flex? Okay, so 1 running back, where to go? Zach Moss. The other guy will be going Saquon Barkley, assuming that he plays. If we don't get confirmation that he's going to play before the game, then maybe at that point we go ahead and we take Alvin Kamara. And then if you're looking at the wide receiver slot, we're going to be going with Calvin Ridley over Pittman and Godwin. And I'd start that running back in the flex over the receivers. Now, Sam says 12-team PBR, 3 receivers in a flex. We have Bijan, Walker, Wilson, Amari, Ayuk, Flowers, Laporta, Achane, Roshan, JSN, JT, Breida. Who are the starts, trades? Allen owner needs a running back. So running back, we're going to be starting Bijan Walker. Wide receiver, we're going to be going with Ayuk, Amari, probably Zay Flowers, even in the tough matchup, because you have Bateman and Odell both out. Flex will go to Von Achane. We are not going to be making any trades this week. Once we end up getting Jonathan Taylor back in, then maybe at that point we could go out there and make a trade involving a running back. But we don't have the depth to do so right now. Especially if we don't know for sure if JT's coming back, even though I assume that he is. Dindo says currently 2-1, traded my Lamar, CMC, Ingram for Miles Sanders, Warren, Kittle, Jefferson. Just thinking about Lamar and CMC getting injured in the next few weeks. CMC to Jefferson, lateral move up to you. Ingram to Kittle, slight upgrade. Lamar to Miles Sanders and Jalen Warren, very bad deal. And I would probably rather add Lamar with those 2 straight up. But overall, still a fair trade. I just don't want to just say like, oh yeah, this. Trying to predict who's going to score with volume is a very difficult task. Then on top of that, trying to predict who's going to get injured is almost damn near impossible, my friend. Like that's not something I'm going to be I'm not trying to guess who's getting injured in fantasy. Dante says traded Jefferson, Waddle, Pierce for Stevenson, Tyreek, DK. Then DK, Moss for Ekeler, Chark. Love the second deal. Jefferson, Waddle, Pierce. Jefferson to Tyreek, downgrade. Waddle to DK, downgrade. Pierce to Stevenson, upgrade. I'm okay with it because the second deal we did. Nick says 12-team at BBR, single flex, 2-1. We have Hurts, Kamara, Gibbs, Jefferson, Higgins, Kittle, Lockett, Flowers, Dobbs, Roschon, Stroud on the bench. Any way to upgrade? Probably would look to see if we could get legitimately anything for CJ Stroud, like literally anything. And overall, I think it's a great team. I think we're going to be maybe trying to capitalize on some of the wide receiver depth that we have. Like if we can send Zay Flowers and Romeo Dobbs and go get a running back upgrade, that'd be really nice. But Caleb says 10-team PPR, any suggestions? We have Richardson, CMC, Jacobs, Adams, Keenan, Hawkinson, Puka. On the bench, we have Godwin, Hollywood, Montgomery, Geno, Laporta, Devon Achane, and Elijah Moore. I don't change the starting lineup anyway. Now that we have the bump from Montgomery, I think we have enough depth where the only thing that I'd be interested in is potentially going and sending Godwin and Puka and seeing if we can get an elite level wide receiver. I think that would make a lot of sense, my friend. Now, Brian says 10-team 0-3, one quarterback. We have Kittle, Kurt, Ford for Pollard. I would go ahead and I would go get Tony Pollard here in a 10-team format, my friend. I would do that. Jack says just got Waddle for Garrett Wilson. Oh my gosh. 3-0 team. The rich get richer. Phenomenal trade, my man. I mean, Jalen Waddle way over Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson in there. Bertrand says I'm 0-3 and I have Ekeler. Is Kenneth Walker enough for Ekeler? Probably not. We would need a wide receiver upgrade as well. Eric says we have Fields. Should we do DJ Moore for Trevor Lawrence? I think that's a very fair trade. And if you're not a believer in Fields, fine if you want to make that bet on the Lawrence bounce back. Mrojas says 10-team BBR double flex. Trade Connor Jacoby for DK and Tank Dell. Jacoby to Tank Dell, probably give me Jacoby. Connor for DK, probably give me DK. I think we'd probably go with the DK side if it's a full PBR double flex format. Now, Josh says 8-team PBR single flex where we have Lamar, Kamara, Hill, Chase, Laporta, Higgins. On the bench, we have Cousins, Ramadre, Moss, Godwin, Sutton, Kirk, Ford. Trade suggestions and who to start. So we're going to leave the starting lineup as is. If it's a 6-point passing touchdown format, you could go with Lamar Jackson. You could go with Kirk Cousins over Lamar Jackson. Actually, we're going to go Zach Moss over T. Higgins there at the flex. And one thing that I'd really like to do in an 8-team format is if we can take, the massive bump that you have with Sam Laporta and send like Sam Laporta and Kenneth Walker and go get someone like Travis Kelce. I think that'd be a no-brainer move in an 8-team format in particular. Okay. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Harsh says, can I do the trade in a full PBR league, giving up Walker for Kamara and Watson? I'm 3-0. As good as Walker is, I just think he's a bit touchdown dependent so far. 100%, I would say that Walker has been a little touchdown dependent, and in a full PBR format, it'd be nice if you could go and pivot to a running back that had a little more involvement as a receiver. But no, this isn't enough. It's not enough, my man. You can't do this. Naeem says, bro, Mason, it's your birthday. Why is everybody in the chat saying it's my birthday? No, it is not my birthday, ladies and gentlemen. My birthday is in 11 days, I believe. It is October 10th. October 10th. Sam says, 10-team at BBR, trade Henry, Olave, Roschon for Jacobs and Brandon Ayuk. Henry to Jacobs, lateral move, probably downgrade. Olave to Ayuk, definite downgrade. Please keep Derrick Henry and Olave. Obviously, you're worried about Derrick Henry, but no, you're giving up way too much. Stin says, love the content. 12-team full BBR format with one flex. We're starting Bijan and Diggs. We have Kamara, Moss, Amari, Puka. Who do we start at? Wide receiver 2, running back 2, and a flex. I think we're going to be going with both running backs. Actually, no, we're going to go Zach Moss there in the starting lineup. Wide receiver, Puka, Amari are going to be really close for us. If you look at our flex rankings that came out today, right now we have Amari ranked at 27. We have Puka at 28. We have Kamara at 33. So we have these guys really, really close. Full BBR format, we probably go with both receivers. Brian says, Mason, it's a 10-team at BBR league. The team is Allen, Pollard, Saquon, Ramadre, Mostert, Moss, Diggs, Hill, Debo, Kelsey. Trade Mostert and Debo for Mixon and Higgins. Long term, I think you're actually getting an upgrade here. I like this deal. I think this would be the one that makes sense for this team if you are in a spot where you have a winning record right now, where we can afford to maybe lose the trade in the short term, but win the trade in the long term as Joe Burrow gets healthier, my friend, as Burrow gets healthier. But ladies and gentlemen, we are about to hit 600 likes on the stream. If you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want me to break down your fantasy football team in an in-depth podcast, way better than I can do on this live stream. If you want my rest of season fantasy football rankings, if you want all my premium content, you can find that on flockfantasy.com. We have so many creators over there at this point. And also, if you use promo code FLOCK, you're going to get 30% off any subscription. And yours truly will go down and break your fantasy football team down in a podcast. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Chris says, 2-1 record, 10-team full BBR league with one flex. What upgrades should we try to make? We have Allen, Bijan, Ramadre, Lamb, Olave, Ridley, Goddard. And then on the bench, we have JT, Jameson, Flowers, JSN, Warren, Roshan, and Tajay Spears. Thanks. So thank you, my friend. Great team. We have a lot of depth now that we're getting Jameson Williams back in, and we have Zay Flowers here as well. I think we wait a week, and if Jonathan Taylor is coming back next week, then at that point, we take Zay Flowers and possibly try to send him with Dallas Goedert and get a tight end that we're very excited about. Okay. Myth says traded Flowers for Devon Achane and Elijah Moore. What are your thoughts? I think it's a very fair deal, and it's up to you. I think both players have upside, and both players are a little unquestioned. I mean, a little hard to gauge what the realistic floor is right now. Okay. Let me go ahead and let me swing over. I'm going to turn the chat to members only and turn off donations and answer any member questions that we have at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're a YouTube member and you have any questions, please go down there and let me know in the live chat right now. I'm exclusively looking for your questions at this moment. How do we change it to members only? I remember it being easy. We got first one coming out from Hammer Fight. Perfect, got it. Okay. Hammer Fight says 8-team full BBR where we're 2-1. We have Hurts, Richardson at quarterback. Running back, we have Mostert, Walker, Henry, Madison. Receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Debo, Puka, Higgins, Hopkins, Addison. Tight end, we have Kelsey, Laporta. Any moves or thoughts? It's a great team. Obviously, hitting on Anthony Richardson and Sam Laporta is great as these rookie calls. The thing is, if we can extract any value out of these guys, right, we would. Like, if you can send Anthony Richardson and Raheem Mostert, get a stud running back. If you can send Sam Laporta and Debo Samuel, get a stud wide receiver. I think that would be very interesting in a world where we have both Jalen Hurts as well as Travis Kelce. Obviously, in an 8-team format, every 2-for-1 deal trade that we can make is inherently going to be extra valuable. Just knowing the fact that we are going to be able to go through and pick up a few additional players off the waiver wire that are going to be a significantly higher quality than what you would expect in a 12-team format. But if we have any YouTube members out here, please ask the questions you may have in the live chats. And if we don't have any, then may end up being a little bit of a shorter stream. But let me go through and show y'all real quick my favorite pick'ems that we have on Underdog. We actually highlighted them for y'all. I try to do a better job about this so y'all can actually see without having to ask. But one of the pick'ems that I really like right now is going to be Derrick Henry for fewer than 85.5 total yards going up against Cincinnati, especially if they fall behind in this game where Cincinnati currently is favored. Now, going over to another one, I actually like the Alexander Mattison for fewer than 75.5 total yards as well, knowing that Akers may end up expanding his role in this offense. And then one that I think a lot of y'all will end up liking will be the Tank Dell for more than 3.5 receptions. Pittsburgh's a great defense, but Pittsburgh is favored in the game. Houston may be in a spot where you're in a garbage time situation again, where they are having to go out there and air it out. But let's go. Christian says, still thinking of starting Amari over Puka for wide receiver 2. I have them ranked legitimately back-to-back in our rankings, my friend. So it really is going to be up to you. I asked the live chat, I believe, actually, no, I guess now with the Watson injury that popped up and Watson being questionable to go. Never mind. I think actually you're right. Thank you for calling me out on this again. I think that we would rather have, at this point, Puka over Amari this week with the Watson injury. Steve says 3-0 in a 10-team PBR format where we have Richardson, Watson, Ramondre, Kyron, Montgomery, Madison, Roschon, Jeff Wilson Jr., Amon-Ra, Puka, Higgins, London, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. Any moves? Should we hold or sell Montgomery? Full PBR format, 3-0 roster. This would be the scenario where I would be looking to sell Montgomery if there was a scenario. I mean, because you will have Gibbs expanding his role, presumably. This is a 3-0 roster where we are thinking for the long term. Full BBR format, Montgomery is maybe not going to have a massive role as a receiver, right? So if you could sell Montgomery and Richardson and get to like a top 3 quarterback in a 10-team format, go get to Jalen Hurts, I think that'd be very interesting. And Christian, yes, we definitely have to put Zach Moss in the flex. Alpac, welcome to joining the flock. Aldwin says 3-0 drafted drunk 10-team BBR. Mahomes, Allen, Bijan, Walker, James Cook, Akers, Diggs, Watson, Davis, Dotson. Nasty team. Obviously, if this is a 1 quarterback format, we're looking to see if we can get an elite receiver for either Mahomes or Allen. If it's a 1 QB format, we can sell either quarterback and go get a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb. That'd be an absolute no-brainer, but I'm fine rostering both tight ends that we have. It would just be if we can get that locked and loaded stud wide receiver. But Alpac says, traded CeeDee and Amari for Jamar Chase. Win or a loss, we have Jefferson and A.J. Brown as well. If you're telling me we have Jefferson, Chase, and A.J. Brown on the same roster, I'm assuming it's going to be a shallow format. So I think that is a win, my man. Now, Mr. J coming out. Welcome to being a member of the flock, my man. Please let me know if you have any questions you have. And if anybody wants to join as a member of the flock, this is something we're going to try to do at the end of the majority of live streams going forward, is hold these member-only Q&As. That way you don't have to wait like a super long time. You can find the link to join as a YouTube member in the live chat. And also, of course, if you want to check out any of the Pick'em specials on Underdog Fantasy as well, you can find that in the live chat. Promo code FLOCK, 100% a positive match, up to $500, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings. And you'll be getting a Patrick Mahomes special Pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Jets this Sunday. But Christian says, just moved down for Sarasota for work. Appreciate all the content you put out. It's kept me very entertained. Well, that's awesome, my man. Hopefully Sarasota's doing well. I know y'all got hit with a little bit. I don't know if it was a hurricane, tropical storm, tomato. Don't know exactly what it was. But yeah, I lived in Tampa 2 years ago at this point. God, it seems like so long ago. I really liked it. Outback says 6-team PBR format. We have Herbert, Mostert, Swift, Jefferson, Chase, Hawkinson, Brown, Jacobs, Kamara, Kyron, Tank, Dell, Puka. Start, sit, who? Quarterback, we are going to be going with Herbert. Running back, we are going to be going with Kyron Williams. Oh my gosh, this is tough. Let me pull up my rankings. Probably Kyron and Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver, we're going to go with Jefferson, Chase, and then the flex, we're going to go A.J. Brown, my friend. Hammer fights as Laporta and Mostert for ETN. I personally would. I will say it couldn't hurt to see if we could maybe squeeze a little more value out of there, my man. Dime says Godwin or Lockett. We are going to be going Godwin. Yes, Evans has dominated touchdowns so far this season. He's had 75% of the touchdowns in Tampa. I mean, obviously, touchdown volatility is wild from a week-to-week perspective. Now, Fruit Punch, welcome to being a member of the flock, my man. Happy to have you. Please let me know if you have any questions. LOLG, longtime member of the flock. Let me know if you have any questions, my friend. And yeah, just in case anybody's just now stepping in, I know we have like over 100 members now so far on YouTube. Please, if y'all have any questions, feel free. Do not have to donate. We even have donations turned off. If you're just a member on YouTube, let me know the question in the chat. I'd be super happy to answer it for whatever y'all have. But let me see. Yeah, we have over 100 YouTube members. But Matthew says 0-3 and playing a guy that had Montgomery. Oh my gosh, my man. I am so damn sorry to hear that. Hopefully we have a receiver that can pop off. Albeck says, can Herbert potentially be top 3 rest of season? I mean, Justin Herbert is the QB2 right now, only behind Kirk Cousins. I will say this probably does come back down to earth just a bit, knowing that obviously you have no Mike Williams in this offense going forward. Now, Alduin says, try to send Josh Allen, James Cook, and John Dotson to the 0-3 team for Kupp and Diggs. It was denied. Maybe I offered too little. I mean, Allen versus Diggs, Diggs by a mile. Cook, Dotson versus Kupp, give me Kupp. I think you can afford to maybe include a better receiver than Jahan Dotson here, my friend. Fruit Punch says, you're awesome, Mason. Been sub for years, hardest working man on YouTube. Congrats on 200K. Thank you so much, my man. I really appreciate the support. And yes, I recognize the name. I recognize it because you've had the same avatar for the entire time. But, Kupp and Jacobs. Kupp and Jacobs actually was a lot more of a fair deal than Kupp and Diggs. I don't know if we want to be going that much higher. Kupp and Diggs, you probably lowballed the guy, though. Dime says, how should I go about a Devon A-Chain waiver wire pickup? In terms of your fab budget, you should be very, very aggressive to go get Devon A-Chain if you can. Alex says, full BBR 12-team league. We have Hurts, Ramondre, Diggs, Michael Thomas, Ingram, Javonte, Barkley, Brian Robinson, Warren, Hopkins, Mims, Pickens, Geno. If Barkley's out, who do we put in for RB2 and the flex? We still have Dotson and Zach Charbonnet on the waiver wire. Okay. So let me see first off, would we pick up Dotson or Zach Charbonnet here? I would drop Marvin Mims to pick up Zach Charbonnet. Like if Jerry Jeudy goes down, I don't know, Mims turns into a must-start player for you. Kenneth Walker goes down, Zach Charbonnet turns into a league winner. So our plans at running back, we're going to go Ramondre, Saquon Barkley, plan A, plan B. If Barkley does not play, we're going to be going with Brian Robinson. And then wide receivers, we're going to go Diggs, MT. And then for the flex in a full BBR format, I may actually go Hopkins because you have no Burks now. But Tristan, welcome to being a member of the flock, my man. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the live chat. Okay. Alpax has been watching for 2.5 years and finally got to be a member. Production quality and consistency is insane. Thank you, my man. Thank you. LOLG says, hey, Mason, any idea why Breece Hall is projected for so many points in the upcoming weeks? Not this week, almost double. This is something I was looking at too, because I mean, I have no interest in starting Breece Hall. But if you go and look at like, just say, not even his production, I mean, his projection on ESPN, because his projection on ESPN like doesn't matter at all, right? You can't go and say bet the under on an ESPN projection. On Underdog, you can take a lower than on these pick'ems, and they have Breece Hall at 63.5 total yards, right? Like for reference, I mean, they have Breece Hall at 63 yards. Whereas if you're going to look at what you have with, say, I'm trying to find a receiver that I know everybody will be excited about. Like these Houston receivers, you have Nico Collins at 50 receiving yards. You have Tank Dell down there like 45.5 receiving yards. So I don't know why Breece Hall is projected for so many, but it is what it is. Cole says, thoughts on Derrick Henry rest of season? I mean, I don't think you can be too excited about Derrick Henry, if I'm being honest. We put out an entire video about it. You're not going to be able to really sell him, though, based off what I've seen. Everybody's worried. Tristan says, one flex 10-team league, 1 and 2, Hurts, Devonta, Higgins, Bijan, Walker, James Cook, Kelsey. On the bench, we have Sanders, Akers, Devon Achane, Zach Sherman, A. Flowers, Hollywood, Kyler, Deontay. Any trades, or would you hold off? We have the elite QB, the elite tight ends. As long as Kyler is on our IR, love the team, and I think we keep it as is, my friend. Okay. Mr. says 10-team PBR, 1 flex. We're 1 and 2. We have Tua, Jacobs, Miles, Amon-Ra, Puka, Kelsey, T at the flex. And then on the bench, we have Javonte, Ford, Moss, Kirk, Dell, Watson, Brown. Looking to trade to a condensed team. Who should we go for? Also, flex who in week 4? I would love to send Puka and Jerome Ford to get an elite level wide receiver there for the flex long term. And then in terms of who we're going to be flexing off this bench right now, you definitely go Zach Moss. Easily Zach Moss. Torrance says a lot of expert rankings have Ridley ahead of Waddle this week. Am I missing something? I mean, if you look at my rankings, I have Jalen Waddle at 15. I have Calvin Ridley down to 26. I don't know. I think that Jalen Waddle is in such a good matchup. I want to play him. LOG says on Sleeper, they haven't projected for 16. Like honestly, the projections on the points in your fantasy football app mean nothing. Like, that's why I always point out Underdog Pick'ems. Underdog Pick'ems, you can literally go take the lower, you know? So if they go out there and project Brees Hall for 16 points, you can go, okay, happy. I'll take the lower then. Easy. But Josh, welcome to the flock. Cole, welcome to the flock. Happy to have you, my man. I know you've been a long time member, and if y'all have any questions, let me know in the live chat. Christian says, I know this reflects in your rankings, but I'm thinking of trading away Ingram and rolling with Laporta rest of season. Yeah, I mean, I have Laporta over Evan Ingram at this point. I mean, after the game last night, it's hard to just continue to go through and say Ingram's the guy. Ultimately, though, I do think that they're in a similar range, and I will tell you this from what I've seen in these live streams. You would get significantly more value if you went to go ahead and say trade Laporta instead of Ingram. Outback says you have Swift at tier 20. Why is that? He's been amazing the last 2 weeks, and the Eagles are a running back stream. At tier 20, I don't know where you were looking at me having DeAndre Swift at tier 20. I promise you I did not have DeAndre Swift at tier 20. Brandon, welcome to being the member flock. I don't know if you're talking about like our rankings, like, and you are confusing rankings with tiers. I have DeAndre Swift at the flex ranking of 24. I have DeAndre Swift in the same tier as Derrick Henry, Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams, Zach Moss, James Cook, Raheem Mostert, and DeAndre Swift. I have DeAndre Swift directly ahead of Mixon, Ridley, Amari, and Puka. But Brandon, welcome to being a member of the flock, my man. Luke, welcome to being a member of the flock. Let me know if y'all have any questions. Fruit Punch says, 10-team Matt BBR 1 flex. Would you trade Garrett Wilson and Burrow for Lamar and Ayuk? Yes, I would, for damn sure. 6-point passing touchdown, assuming. Josh says, should I trade Jamar, Ramondre, and Laporta for Derrick Henry, Kelsey, and Laporta? Okay, so Laporta, take him out, whatever. They have Chase and Ramondre, Derrick Henry, Kelsey. I'd go Derrick Henry, Kelsey. LOG says, would you trade Lamb for A.J. Brown? Dallas has just been spamming Pollard on every drive. Full BBR format, I'd still rather have Lamb over Brown. Tristan says, Higgins or Flowers, my second receiver. We're going to go Higgins in a plus matchup. Cole says, my starting receivers right now are Chase, Keenan, Higgins. Who do you think trading for Derrick Henry and Mahomes for Higgins, Herbert, Ford would make my starting wideouts too thin? Rather than trade Ford and Herbert. Okay, trading Henry and Mahomes for Higgins, Herbert. No, my man, you're fine. You have Chase and Keenan. I would trade Higgins and Herbert for Henry and Mahomes. I would do it, my man. Luke says, does Palmer have the potential to be a 20-point receiver this week? It's in the range of outcomes. Not likely. I would bet the under on 20 points easily. LOG says, good luck this week, everyone. Good luck, my man. Thank you for being a long-time member of the flag. Brandon says, thoughts on Myers? I have him in the flex spot over Devon Achane, Williams, Dell, and Brown until JT comes back. Okay. I am fine with it in a full PBR format. I think Achane maybe has a little bit of a higher ceiling. Obviously, Myers has had a crazy amount of volume. I know a lot of people are projecting this out. Now, with that being said, keep in mind, he's played 2 weeks, right? He's played 2 weeks. So it's hard to go out there and say he's going to be that good the rest of the season. Now, DLA says, would you start in a 4-point passing touchdown format, Fields or Geno? We're going to go Fields in the plus matchup. And then would you start Jameson over Rashad White next week or wait to see? Wait to see, definitely. Jeep Guy says, well, love to see all you new flockers. Yes. I mean, if you are a member of the flock here and have the custom flock emojis, can we drop the flock emojis in the chat, everybody? Craig coming out saying, let me drop some myself. But we got Craig joining the flock. Appreciate you. And Rick says, should we start Thielen, Dell, or Brian Robinson? I'm going to go Brian Robinson, even with it being a really tough matchup. And real quick, we are 1 like away from hitting 700 likes on this live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Help us hit 700. And also, of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, find it in the description, find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $500. Plus, you'll be getting our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and you'll get a Patrick Mahomes special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard going up against the Jets this Sunday. But believe our next question coming out from Rick says, should we start Thielen, Dell, or Brian Robinson? We already answered that one. Alpec says, sorry, that's my bad. I meant rankings, but 3 days ago. Yeah, so we recorded those rankings if it came out on Tuesday morning, my man. I mean, we said it in the video, but we recorded this as those Monday night games were going on. So we didn't have the official usage on DeAndre Swift just yet, which is why we updated it in the flex rankings today. Goal, like I said, with Derrick Henry rest of season, I am worried about the usage. I'm worried about the offense. Same things that we were saying coming into the season, my friend. Jeep Guy says, traded Devon Achane for Derrick Henry in the flock league. How did I do? I am fine with that move. If that's the price point of Henry, I think it makes sense to go through and roll the dice at that point, my friend. Okay. Now, our next question. Sorry, give me a second to pull this up. Craig says, should we trade Javonte and Flowers for JT? I'm 3-0. I am operating under the assumption that JT plays. So yes, I personally would do that. Graval says, outlook on Jameson coming back. Can Detroit sustain production for St. Brown, Jameson Williams, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta? Jameson Williams is a wide receiver I am very excited to have in Detroit, and I think that he does really help this Detroit Lions offense. However, I don't think he is a wide receiver that typically sees a ton of volume. I don't think that Jameson Williams himself will be great for fantasy. I think he's going to be more so the field stretching option, and you're going to have more value going to the other guys in this offense. Dialli says, would you start Josh Downs or Robert Woods in the flex in a PPR format? I would go Josh Downs coming off a double-digit target performance. Dime says, is Brees worth a flex against the Broncos next week? We have Hurts, Sanders, Devon Achane, Brees. Possibly. It's way too early to say, my man. Even if Lockett and Amari are on bye, let's wait to see the volume that we're going to get from the Pittsburgh backs and Devon Achane here. But Floyd says, 8-team PBR 7-point passing touchdown format, where we have Burrow, Richardson, Etienne, Mixon, Sanders, Jefferson, Diggs, Kupp, Myers, Deontay Pickens, Godwin, Kelsey. Any moves to make? Not sure. I'm not at least 2-1. Okay, so I would say 7-point passing touchdown format in comparison to a 4-point passing touchdown league. Pretty big difference that we want to make. Not only, obviously, do you want to bump up the value of quarterbacks overall, but you want to be bumping up specifically the value of the quarterbacks that have a considerable amount of passing volume in their offenses. The rushing quarterbacks such as Anthony Richardson, such as, say, Justin Fields, those rushing QBs, Lamar Jackson, will be worth inherently less. So if we could take Anthony Richardson, take Joe Burrow, and go get someone like Kirk Cousins, and have someone that could possibly lead the NFL in passing touchdowns, passing attempts, I think that makes sense. Champ says, full BBR 10-team league. We have Lamar, Chase, Brown, Waddle, Brian Robinson, Connor, Pacheco, Nico, Kirk, Atwell, Palmer. Any changes? Currently 1 and 2. I don't think we change anything with this team. And the 2 running backs that we're going to look to start, we're going to be going with Connor and Robinson, but they do have really bad matchups. Alpax says, would you take Hawkinson or Andrews? Personally, I'm really liking Hawkinson. I'm right there with you, my man. Tyler says, PBR double flex, 4-point passing touchdown format. We have Lamar, Kyler, Jacobs, Montgomery, Connor, Keenan, Smith, Watson, Kelsey. On the bench, we have Javonte, Quentin, Johnson, Josh Downs, Roshan, Mitchell, Jahan Dotson. Any moves to make in the long term? Long term, we're already optimizing with some of these rookies down on the bench that can continue to expand their roles. Same thing with someone like Jameson Williams. Double flex format, depth's going to matter a little bit more. So I think you're already optimized for the long term, my man. I think great team. Really like that we're also not rostering a backup QB or backup tight end, specifically with those bench spots. But Cole Kelley says, who would you get in a deal with Lockett and Ford? If you want to go for like a wide receiver, I would love to get like Waddle, Olave, Devonta Smith, or obviously St. Brown or A.J. Brown or Lamb. I just think it'd be harder to do. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Luke says, got to trade Cookin. The guy I'm playing this week's 1 and 2. And his Jefferson, if I beat him after this week, do you like the idea of throwing Ayuk in Amon-Ra for Jefferson? I'll do this today, my man. I'll do that either today or tomorrow. The thing is with Keenan Allen's target share dropping, it's hard to project out. You are going to get Austin Ekeler back in, but you're also going to have no Mike Williams going forward. So, I mean, Keenan Allen could easily lead the NFL in targets this year. And I was not saying that coming into the season. Champ says, thanks, Mason. No, thank you, my man. I mean, no Mike Williams makes a pretty big impact here. But I think that should probably be about it for this live stream. Of course, thank you again. If you have not done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you want to check out any of those pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, one of my favorites right now is going to be Tank Dell for more than 3.5 receptions this week. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, get a 100% deposit match up to $500. Plus, you're going to be getting our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers and a Patrick Mahomes special pick of more than less than half a total yard on Sunday. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope you get to see you in the live stream tomorrow. Jeep Guy, Jefferson, McCaffrey are equal to me. But thank you again. Really appreciate y'all and hope to see you tomorrow.